Imagine living in a world where an AI chip is implanted in everyone, except for you, who is a poor nobody. Even so, since your sister needs it to survive, you become a food delivery driver and get run over by a zombie truck driver. This is the story of Liu Feng, our pizza delivery guy who, incredibly, survived the truck's impact using his stolen system, and now aims to build a harem full of voluptuous waifus in this zombie apocalypse. Liu Feng has just been hit by the isekai truck and wonders if he is going to die. His sister texts him to ask if something happened, while for the first time, we see a zombie driving. But, lying on the ground, he worries about who will pay for his sister's treatment. He recounts that he left school to work and after earning some money, bought a surgical implant chip that improved his condition. Now he tries to call an ambulance, but he makes a mistake and opens the wrong app. He closes his eyes for a moment and, when he opens them again, he senses a fragrance in the air. He realizes he has died and awakened in paradise. The blonde-haired girl notices he has woken up, and he admires her beauty. For some reason, the main character talks about the company he works for, as this is the most important information in his life. And the woman introduces herself as Kelly, who called an ambulance and needs to find out which vehicle hit him. Liu Feng tries to reach for his phone to call his sister, but when he looks, he realizes he will die in 3 minutes. He hears a voice recommending that he absorb nearby energy to restore his life. The boy decides to listen to the voice and leans against a nearby car to gain energy. She insists on the phone that they need the ambulance now and wonders what happened to Liu Feng. He stands up excitedly, realizing he did the right thing. He understands that he absorbed energy from the car, but damaged it, and wonders if he has become some superhero who runs fast, which clearly cannot be determined. He remembers the app installed on his phone. Could he be dependent on technology? Perhaps there is a way back. The delivery guy receives a call from his girlfriend. She asks if he didn't answer because he fell off a mountain and if he still loves her. But when she finds out he went to see his sister, she breaks up with him after all. She is more important than his sister, right? He tries to explain, but the woman is upset about the money he is spending on treatment. She asks how many years he will have to work to pay off the loan. He asks for another chance, but she says she already has another partner, and he realizes he is just a poor guy, as she said. For the sake of his sister, the protagonist lost everything. His work vehicle is broken, and the relationship is over. He thinks about becoming someone important by taking on more work. Feng's phone rings, and he hopes his girlfriend has regretted her decision. But it is his sister asking for help. She says there are strange people in the hospital biting everyone. His brother informs her that he will help her. He considers using his points to fix the vehicle, but he doesn't have many. The latest news talks about incidents and urges calm, warning against spreading rumors. Liu's ex-girlfriend, Xiang Qiang, is in a van with an old man. He asks if she finally left her foolish and poor boyfriend. She replies that he doesn't even know about their relationship and asks the man for a chip. He says it is not easy, as AI chips are now symbols of identity and wealth. AI has advanced, but the cost of the chip is only affordable for the rich and middle class. The old man with the chip sees real-time graphs and warns that if Xiang Qiang wants one, she must behave. The girl asks to continue. Suddenly, a shadow appears and scares the old man. It was Feng who used his points to upgrade his vehicle, and now he is going to help his sister. An hour later, he arrives at the hospital. The environment is broken and stained with blood. He fears it was a terrorist attack, but he needs to find Xiang Qiang. The hero enters a corridor. He sees blood, but there are no bodies. He questions what happened when a door opens behind him. A security inspector stumbles out and asks where his dog is. Feng doesn't understand, but the man insists. Upon closer inspection, he realizes the inspector has turned into a zombie. He stands up and begins to roar. The creature tries to attack Liu, who dodges and falls. The boy sees the doctor responsible for his sister and asks what is wrong with that man. But the doctor also responds with a roar. He screams for the zombies to stay away. But suddenly, he notices the presence of many of them. The boy wonders why there are so many. At that moment, Liu enters a door in search of refuge. However, there are many zombies, and he doesn't know how to contain them. He wonders if he is in the surveillance room. The news reports that old technologies have been replaced by artificial intelligence. The powers tried to form an alliance with 3 countries, with the Lebanese alliance as the core. Once, a mysterious disease spread, with the main symptom being dark blood. The cure was accessible only to the upper class. Meanwhile, Liu Feng was a broke civilian. Liu asks if she is sad. The young woman remembers that he took a loan of $1 million for her treatment. The protagonist says he just needs to deliver more food to cover it. But the girl asks him not to lie about his dependence on expensive pills and chips. She believes that if she hadn't been born, none of this would have happened. Liu reveals that he does this because she is his only family. His sister says she was about to throw herself into the river to stop him from suffering more. But now she has become a zombie. The protagonist thinks he cannot let these creatures catch him. Maybe his system can help him now. The system indicates that he will starve in 2 days if he stays in the monitoring room. He can use a duct in the nearby room to save his sister. Additionally, the system displays a map to the laundry room. The delivery man observes the available broomsticks and uses them to block the zombie's passage. Then, he activates his creation ability. But the doctor-turned-zombie manages to enter the room. She crawls towards Liu Feng, ready to attack him. But she is surprised by the protagonist's attack with a flaming knife he created. He spent 100 points but built what he needed. Moreover, he made a bite-resistant armor. The zombies try to enter, but Liu Feng attacks them with his new weapon. A few minutes later, he manages to eliminate all of them. Liu Feng declares that no one will stop him from saving his sister. After a while, the protagonist reaches the laundry room. He encounters a duct that emits a foul smell, but his system informs him that it is the only way to reach the second floor. Liu Feng gathers his courage and enters, determined to do anything for Zion. However, he slips, and his armor shatters. Upon landing, he sees his sister with military personnel. The soldiers from the Grim Reaper team report that the objective is to evacuate safely. Unfortunately, they lost communication. One of them mentions that the objective does not oppose the resistance. However, they did not expect the mutant zombie to actually be a girl. The squad leader arrives. She asks to contact headquarters, sensing that something is wrong. Feng appears calling for his sister. He curses the soldiers and asks where they are taking Zion. Suddenly, he is pulled into another corridor. Thinking it is a zombie, he is terrified. While the squad leader gives an order, Shintong looks at one of the soldiers and strikes his neck, killing him. The commander orders them to shoot the girl, but Liu's sister climbs into a ventilation duct. More zombies appear to attack. The woman tries to defend herself with a weapon, but chaos has already ensued. The man who pulled Liu Feng says they are safe for now. The boy recognizes guard Zhang and asks what those creatures are. He replies that he doesn't know, but the news spoke of a war with the Blessed Alliance. Someone detonated the virus, and those outside were killed, turning into monsters. The delivery man is startled to realize that the most affected people had integrated chips. Zhang explains that, in Liu Feng's sister's case, she encountered soldiers and was captured. One of the zombies notices their presence. The protagonist warns that they need to leave. Zhang informs him that he has been bitten. The boy says the guard cannot die because he is still young. But the man replies that he has seen others bitten and there is no way to escape. But he praises Liu for taking good care of his sister. Liu starts to cry and apologizes. Zhang remembers Liu's lone request to save his sister. That is why he will help him survive. The world is changing, and Zhang hopes Liu can make it. While fleeing, the delivery man asks the system where his sister is. The system responds that the exit is through the basement of the institute, via a staircase with corpses, or go to the lab to find the dose that will save Zion. The survival rate is higher via Path A, but the boy chooses Path B, kicking the zombie in plain clothes in the face. More zombies approach. Prepared, the protagonist uses his weapon to kill them. His defensive object breaks. Even with other weapons available, he cannot buy or create them. Liu Feng reaches the lab and spots the melanoma suppressor serum. Shintong appears in her new form. She jumps to attack her brother, who hugs her, happy to see her. Out of nowhere, it seems she comes to and feels a lot of pain. The protagonist asks the system about his sister's condition. He recommends using the blood transfusion serum. Liu approaches the sample to grab it. He shoots from where he is, but the system warns that the hospital will be destroyed if the sample is stolen. Even so, he applies the serum to his sister, which surprisingly works. The system's voice warns that they need to leave quickly. He suggests abandoning his sister or fleeing to the treatment room, and it's obvious that the MC chooses the latter. The protagonist wonders if the doors can withstand the explosion, but a woman appears before him. Upon recognizing her, Liu realizes she is the soldier who captured Zion. He suggests that they escape together. The system informs that a mutant zombie has been detected nearby. Before Liu realizes it, the commander's skin darkens. He asks her to listen, warning about the mutant zombie, but not to worry because he is there. Then, he feels her licking him. Looking, he discovers that she is the mutant zombie. Liu closes the door to protect himself. Unfortunately, she manages to open it. Desperate, Liu calls for help. He tries to use his points when he feels the woman's hand on his shoulder. He thinks he is going to die, but Shintong appears to defend him. She shouts at the mutant zombie. The building will self-destruct in 3 minutes. Liu questions his sister's strength but realizes that the enemy is still alive. He calls Shintong to flee. Holding her in his arms, he hears the countdown to the explosion. With 24 seconds left, he finds the door. The siblings open the door and take refuge. Their strength keeps the zombie outside. Only 4 seconds remain. Liu raises his hand and a blue power emerges. He uses his power to break the ground and spends 500 points to open the emergency shelter. In the next instant, the building explodes. People outside watch the disaster. In the basement, Liu Feng wonders if he is dead. He is surprised by what he sees. The system informs that the refuge against the end of the world is complete. He notices that the cell signal has improved. For the system update, he requests the expansion of the shelter. The dark-haired boy looks at his sister, who is a bit shaken. 10 minutes later, Liu uses 50 points to repair a computer. The computer is optimized and connected to the network. He asks the system about his sister's condition. The system informs that the serum delayed the mutation. Liu asks if the serum can save the zombies outside, but finds out that it does not work on infected people. He remembers that the soldier was a variant. Now that the serum has delayed Zion's transformation, Liu seeks a way to prevent her from becoming a monster. He thinks about calling the police to solve the virus problem. Suddenly, he comes across the latest news and wonders if the world is ending. He needs to find a cure for his sister and asks the system what he can do for Zion. The assistant informs that the shelter needs to be level 5 to build a vaccine research center. Liu decides to check the shelter's level. The system warns that he needs to work hard to improve his title and level. It shows the items he can buy to raise the shelter's level. Liu realizes that everything is expensive and notices that the ventilation duct is damaged. If it is not repaired, the shelter will run out of air in 5 hours. The system recommends purchasing a new duct. He climbs into the air duct and uses 30 points to repair it. The piece is fixed, and completing the task brings 2 reputation points. Feng discovers that he can improve and repair objects while completing the system's missions. He starts by transforming paper and earns 1 point. Then he modifies oil and gains another 1 point. The delivery person asks the system about his sister, and it explains that part of her intelligence and memory has declined to the level of a 7-year-old girl, but she still remembers her brother. The protagonist promises that as long as he lives, he will seek a cure for Shintong and make her a normal girl. His sister wakes up and sees her brother with his hands dirty from lubricant. She asks what he was doing. The boy tries to explain, but fears that the perfect image he projected to her has been destroyed. The next day, Team Lee informs that the captain lost signal at the hospital, but the life signal is still active. Therefore, the death team has been sent. Shintong calls her brother a pervert, and he thinks his reputation is ruined. He tries to explain, but she ends up falling asleep. Liu Feng comments that no matter the size, she still looks like a little girl. Suddenly, the system informs that the survivors from the first day won the hockey lottery and recommends building the generator room with a reward of 100 points. The protagonist thinks this is a lottery. He tries to use the luck roulette to get a plane, but ends up getting a vaccine and laments not winning a plane. Liu Feng questions whether this vaccine can save the world by curing the zombies, but a vaccine with that power can only be obtained at level 5. Otherwise, a large number of points will be needed to redeem the shelter level in the store. Then, the dark-haired boy decides to apply the vaccine to himself first and asks the system if the hospital generator can be repaired in the underground part to be the power source for the shelter. The assistant informs him that this is possible, but the generator was destroyed. However, there is another energy core on the 16th floor. Liu Feng has 2 options: build the generator room or seek the energy core and fix it on the 16th floor. He thinks that this way he can save points to buy another plan. He wonders if he would become the director by recruiting survivors, especially the most beautiful ones. Liu Feng considers taking on the responsibility as director and having many beautiful women. But first, he needs to solve the food problem. Shintong calls him a pervert again. He asks her not to misunderstand and tries to explain himself. The next afternoon at the hospital, zombies and mutants dominate the place. A trapdoor opens in the floor and Liu Feng pokes his head out, thinking that the target is the electric generator on the 16th floor. He wonders how a hospital can have all this, but he must follow the emergency passage to avoid problems. This is the right moment, and he exits the trapdoor, asking Xintong to come with him. The dark-haired boy tries to think of something when his sister pulls his shirt. She asks him not to go, as she is scared. Regardless of her strength, the girl is affected by the virus. Liu Feng declares that they will survive together as siblings, but the scenario is apocalyptic. The delivery boy gets scared and decides that he must save his sister first. He pulls her by the arm and they start to run. After the apocalypse, the protagonist can only trust his sister and will protect her, no matter who attacks her. Suddenly, Garjang appears in his mutant form. The boy gets scared but thinks that after the mutation, there is no way to be cured. The delivery boy thanks old Zhang for the opportunity to live and promises not to let the virus contaminate him. On the hospital roof, many zombies are present. The soldiers shoot when high-heeled footsteps approach. It is a woman with pink hair, Li Xin, captain of the 8th Squad of the government's Special Operations Team. She orders the soldiers to cease fire and shoots a zombie next to her in the head. With a large weapon, Li Xin continues to shoot at the zombies. One of the soldiers informs the rookie that when the captain attacks, they do not need to help, just admire the heroic combat style of the strongest Special Operations Team. 5 minutes after the start, Li Xin eliminates several zombies. A soldier notices the captain's aggressiveness with one of them. The other comments that she is amazing, deserving the title of Goddess of Death. The pink-haired woman admits that she is having bad luck today. She apologizes for not being able to control her anger upon seeing zombies. One of the soldiers warns that her target is just below. The woman encourages the men to capture the target alive. Liu Feng is in front of Chief Zhang. 5 hours ago, the boy was examining the pantry of the base. He needs to use what he found to build a weapon. He is unsure whether to make a spear or a sword. Looking back, he sees Jintong drinking 2 bottles of water at once. His brother panics upon hearing the system announce 1 attribute point and 2 talent points. The boy chooses the talent points. Feng realizes that he has unlocked a talent system. Indecisive, he remembers a game where he chose suitable talents. He then decides to add points to strength. Now, with the flaming sword, he reaches level 1 in Master Swordsman. Liu Feng recalls Master Zhang's words about the chip in the brain that could save his sister. He thanks again and asks the system to use 10 points to activate the flames of the sword. Bidding farewell to his friend, he uses the new weapon to end his life, promising to protect his sister at all costs. Upon exiting, he notices that the Master Swordsman skill increases his strength, and the system chip makes him very strong. He warns Jintong about the danger of staying there, and now with strength at rank C+, he needs to strengthen himself quickly. The system's mission is to obtain the energy core on the 16th floor. In the corridor of the 7th floor of the hospital, a woman is being dragged by a man. He asks her to run. The man with blue hair warns that the stairs are ahead. He reveals that he didn't expect the girl to like him and says that when they get out, they will get married. A zombie attacks the man, biting his neck. He calls for help, but the blonde woman tries to break free. The man questions whether she didn't love him. She replies that she only said that because the world was ending and orders him to die. Several zombies appear behind her and attack her as well. A man in a suit observing the scene complains about the infestation. He realizes it was better that the zombies were attracted by the screams. In fact, he is the president of a company. He complains that he came to the hospital to treat an illness, not imagining that the city would be attacked. He asks his subordinate to check if the corridor to the right has any unwanted presence. The employee says he is counting on the president's help to escape the chaos. A girl with blue hair asks why her brother needs to go. The president replies that he is just a useless person. Another girl with purple hair stands up, stating that this isn't right, as he is just a child. She introduces herself as Sarah, the secretary of the hospital's dean, and says she knows the building well, assuring that the corridor is also infested. The company chief asks if she is still alive and says she can go in place of the subordinate. Lee's aides ask the girl not to interfere and let the man decide. Sarah wonders how to save the boy who will be sacrificed. Mr. Lee thinks he is in charge and orders the subordinate to throw the boy into the corridor. His request is obeyed, and the child's sister screams in desperation. The boy looks back, crying. Some zombies stare at him. The company chief complains that he attracted zombies close to them. The creature attacks the boy, and President Lee tries to silence his sister. Everyone watches the scene in horror. Suddenly, a knife hits the enemy. Sarah tries to see who it is. Liu Feng, the attacker, asks if the boy is okay. Sarah kneels, questioning if God sent that warrior to save them. The protagonist spots about 5 zombies. Someone orders a retreat, but the girl with purple hair notices that Feng isn't moving. She wonders if he intends to face the zombies alone. The delivery man activates his Master Swordsman ability. He takes a deep breath and charges into the attack. A zombie tries to approach, but his flaming sword swiftly cuts it in half. Before he can rest, he pierces the head of another monster. Sarah watches the protagonist's impressive skills. His weapon begins to catch fire. The girl with purple hair realizes his strength and wonders if Liu Feng is still human. The boy's sword skills are truly extraordinary. He resembles a samurai fighting against multiple enemies. Sarah feels her body tremble as she witnesses the battle. An aide informs President Lee that the others do not want to flee, and he asks her to fetch them. The subordinate asks why the girls don't want to go back, but is startled by what she sees. Sarah feels Feng's cold gaze, which makes her fall in love. The girls wonder who he is. Lee's subordinate orders a retreat. Otherwise, they will be devoured. However, he is panting and can no longer run. The man looks around, questioning where the others are. Through the smoke, he spots a woman. The blonde girl asks if he would like to play. The subordinate approaches, saying he will protect her. But he is startled to realize she is a mutant that consumes him. In the hospital, Liu introduces himself to the others and presents his sister Xiong. The president's aide asks if the government sent an army to save them. The protagonist replies that the army sent was killed a long time ago by zombies. He then asks Sarah where the stairs to the 16th floor are. She becomes nervous with his attention. President Lee asks them not to believe him, claiming the army is powerful. He questions Liu about the army they sent. The dark-haired boy insists he is not lying. However, the company chief cannot believe it. Sarah wonders if this will be the end of the world. The boy asks if the others are okay. The blue-haired woman thanks him for saving her brother. The president says he hasn't finished talking to the delivery man, but he is interrupted by a punch that sends him flying. He asks Feng why he was hit. The hero replies that he saw what he did to the girl's brother and calls him a coward. The blue-haired subordinate, now infected, appears. He remembers that the president used to call him a mutt. His boss asks for help to teach Liu Feng a lesson, but he ends up being bitten. The protagonist advances, ordering everyone to leave. However, he is also hit. A screen informs that an evolved mutant zombie has appeared. Feng is thrown to the ground, realizing the monster's strength. Suddenly, President Li is thrown far away and screams for help. Someone approaches. The dark-haired boy turns and attacks with his sword, asking who is there. But the creature's hand blocks his strike, surprising him. It appears to be a mutant zombie. Liu Feng's eyes shine. He grips his weapon firmly and asks her not to underestimate him. The protagonist tries to attack and realizes that the mutant zombie is a woman. The monster attempts an attack with her tongue, and Liu Feng realizes he won't be able to dodge. Shiyang jumps in front and defends his brother. Suddenly, Li Xin appears, jumping through the window. She arrives shooting. One of the shots hits President Li's subordinate. The protagonist is startled to see that he is still alive. Meanwhile, the pink-haired woman prepares with her sword in hand, eliminating the zombie quickly. The delivery man is frightened, but the captain tells him not to move. She then declares that they have finally found their target. The protagonist asks who she is and what she wants. The woman introduces herself and says she needs to take Shiyang, asking him to hand over the girl quickly. President Li, in despair, cries for help. One of the soldiers reveals that he is also infected. The captain realizes that he is on the list of people to be rescued and protected. At that moment, the head of the company points at Feng and claims that he attacked him. Therefore, they should shoot him. The protagonist wonders if he has gone mad. The president laughs at the boy and orders them to eliminate him, but he is interrupted by a gun to his head. It is Captain Li Xing who threatens him. Some zombies begin to rise, and the captain wonders why they haven't died since they were hit. The blonde mutant zombie tries to attack again with her tongue. She hits two soldiers with force. The protagonist sees an opportunity and asks Sarah to take him to the 16th floor. The pink-haired woman orders them not to retreat. She wonders if these are the mutant zombies mentioned by the Government Research Institute. Sarah runs ahead of Liu Feng. She questions whether they are really government soldiers. The protagonist confirms and says they are looking for his sister. He then apologizes for involving them. His guide reveals that the soldiers only save VIPs. The blue-haired girl says she believes him and thanks him for saving her brother, Zhao Hua. The warrior appreciates the trust and thinks about asking if they want to go to his base. Feng notices that Zhao Hua has been bitten on the arm. He calls the boy over and prepares to speak. Suddenly, the fog dissipates, and the system alerts about a mutant zombie above the protagonist. He panics, and the screen recommends that he flee quickly. Liu Feng grabs Sarah's hand and pulls her close. He asks if she wants to go to his house to take a shower. The purple-haired girl is moved by the proposal. She says they can't, just as a zombie tries to attack them. Sarah warns the protagonist to be careful. The boy orders his friend to stay by his sister's side. He holds his flaming sword and strikes, cutting the mutant's tongue. More zombies approach from behind, and he defends himself, plunging the sword into their skulls. The swordsman wonders where these mutant zombies came from. Sarah tries to fight so that Xintong wakes up and the two can escape from the zombie. The protagonist's sister is so scared that she can't move. The blue-haired girl thinks about abandoning her, but hugs her and promises to protect her at all costs. Li Xin appears shooting with her weapons, using an invisibility tactical cloak. The blue-haired girl alerts that the zombies are climbing the stairs. The blonde mutant woman advances to attack. Liu Feng opens a door and orders everyone to flee. The protagonist asks the captain where the soldiers are. She informs him that they died and that she escaped because of the cloak. The warrior finds it strange that there are so many mutant zombies, which are rare. He speculates that they might be controlled by another species. The boy hears a noise and asks what it was when he is surprised by the mutant zombie attacking Zhao Hua. He screams for help as he is devoured by the monster. His sister tries to go to him, but the protagonist stops her, saying it is impossible to save him. She questions if he would abandon Zhao Hua if he were his sister. Liu Feng releases her, realizing that he cannot save everyone. The blue-haired girl tries to save her brother, but ends up being bitten by another mutant. The warrior laments not being able to save them. Li Xin urges him not to get distracted and to find a way to save everyone. He replies that he already knows how. The boy holds his sword and activates his flames. Then, he points his weapon at the mutant zombie on the ceiling. Liu Feng claims that he is the one controlling the other zombies. The woman with pink hair asks if he is sure. The protagonist responds that the zombie is like the black devilfish, attracting other zombies with its tentacles. Moreover, it has abilities that control its prey. The captain decides to believe him and starts shooting at the zombie on the ceiling. The monster begins to suffer, and the other zombies also show pain. One of them lunges to attack Sarah. Li Xin worries about the situation. Suddenly, Xu Huang defends herself alone. Sarah is impressed by Xu Huang's strength. The creature that was going to attack her is now on the wall. It crawls on the ground and is caught off guard by Liu Feng's sword. The system informs that the protagonist earned 100 reward points for killing a mutant zombie for the first time. He thanks Li Xin for her help. The woman with pink hair points a weapon to each side. She warns that Xu Huang does not have the strength of a normal human, and that she has orders to take the girl with her. The captain orders the boy not to move. He replies that he will not move. Then, he explains that she pointed the weapon at the wrong person. Sarah nearly faints from fear. While Li Xin explains herself, the protagonist seizes the chance. He activates his master sword Shin Chip, but a kick from the woman interrupts his plans. She thinks the boy is very strong. Irritated, he chokes her with one arm and asks why they want his sister. The captain says that she is just following orders. Feng asks who gave her that order. Li Xin slips and falls on top of the boy, leaving Sarah uncomfortable. The girl with purple hair comments on her boldness. The woman with pink hair orders him to die but ends up kissing him. The protagonist thinks he cannot dodge her attack if he cannot move. Sarah asks them to stop fighting, as they have already reached the 16th floor. Xu Huang lifts Li Xin's head. The girl with purple hair asks them both to follow her. Upon opening the doors, they realize that the hospital dean is also infected. But the delivery man finishes off the monster with his sword. The dean's secretary researches a project called God's Son. Upon finding it, the girl explains that the project consisted of a donation of black blood mixed with the virus to create a new species called mutants. Many people died, including Liu Feng's sister, who participated in the experiment. The survival rate was only 0.1%. That is why Xu Huang transformed into a legendary mutant. The girl's brother remembers that, 10 minutes ago, they were calling her to leave. When the girl ripped a piece from the zombie she had just killed and devoured it. The protagonist wonders if his sister is still human. He decides to forget about it for a moment, and the system informs the location of the energy core. Feng asks if Sarah knows the combination to the dean's safe, where what they need would be hidden. The girl with purple hair manages to help, and the protagonist completes his mission, taking out the energy core in the shape of a green cube. The dark-haired boy explains what it is and says he wants to tell Sarah something. He takes the opportunity to ask the two women if they want to join his underground shelter to survive the apocalypse together. The dean's secretary accepts the proposal. The warrior thinks that only Li Xin needs to accept. Unfortunately, the captain declines. Liu Feng wonders why the woman rejected so quickly. Li Xin explains that if the experiment is true, she will apologize to her sister, but that does not mean she wants to join him. She prefers to survive alone. Sarah wonders what the warrior will do. The protagonist reveals that he has reasons for wanting the goddess of death Li Xin to join him. But in his mind, he knows he just said the first thing that came to his head. Li Xin gives him 5 seconds to convince her. Otherwise, he will be killed. The boy wonders what to do. Looking inside the dean's safe, he notices a distinctive magazine. Feng remembers that the woman said the soldiers only obey orders from their superior. Therefore, he can ask the system for a false identity so that she will obey all his orders. The protagonist decides to use his points to buy synthetic metal and transform it into a false identity. Then he says he no longer needs to hide who he is. He lies, saying that he is a special government investigator responsible for the Refuge Base project, a mission to enhance humanity's hope. Li Xin does not seem to believe him. The boy offers his identity for her to scan. However, the woman with pink hair has no way of knowing if the identity is true or false, since all government identities are kept confidential. Feng says she is a very independent person. She asks what he meant by that. The dark-haired boy says she shouldn't think about living alone at the end of the world, but as a soldier, she must rise to save as many lives as she can. Then, the hero states that with that attitude, she is not worthy of being a soldier. Li Xin approaches and praises his words, agreeing that, as a soldier, one must save lives. She feels honored to be invited to join a refuge. The system informs that Feng earned 200 points for recruiting new companions. Li Xin reveals that everyone who becomes his companion ends up dying, but she hopes he won't be next. The protagonist does not understand her relationship with her. They are in the hospital cafeteria's storage room. The dean's secretary says she had the key to organize food for the orphanage, but now she will help at the refuge. Liu Feng mentions that they also need to gather construction materials. The protagonist observes the profiles of his new recruits and wonders about the green signal of mood. The system explains that the green signal indicates that the person is friendly, helping to distinguish between trustworthy individuals and spies. The boy notices that Xintong is drinking milk and remembers that his sister liked the milk their aunt made. He wonders if the aunt is still alive and asks the system to show Xiang's panel. His sister's skills are unknown, but her attributes are high. Next, Liu Feng's panel appears. He realizes that by obtaining the remaining items, the refuge base will upgrade to level 2. The boy asks the system to purchase the water pump blueprint from the cafeteria bathroom and start construction immediately. He notes that managing a refuge base is more difficult than he thought. Sarah catches the director's attention, saying she found steel bars and plastic tarps, hoping they will be useful. She asks if he will use the materials to build a greenhouse to grow vegetables. Li Xin agrees with the idea. The captain comments that she knew he intended to build a greenhouse and was lucky to find bags of soil and seeds. Liu Feng praises Li Xin, saying she is worthy of being his companion. She suggests they go check out the refuge base. The protagonist realizes he was only thinking about a new spear and that the girls are smarter than he is. The two girls ask if the base is down there. Feng explains that the hatch is an alternative entrance. Upon entering, Li Xin asks if the base is the size of a normal house. The director reveals that their base is huge. Finally, they arrive at the location. The captain realizes that what the boy said was true. The girls are impressed by the size of the base. Liu Feng almost forgets about the water pump blueprint and is surprised by the size as well. The protagonist presents the location, showing that the bathroom is on the left, the pumping room in the middle, and the kitchen on the right. In the kitchen, Liu Feng reveals that the computer contains all the recipes in the world and can produce them with the right ingredients. Then, he presents the pumping room, which can start storing water immediately. Finally, he shows the bedrooms and assures Sarah that she will have a hot shower, and she asks them to hurry with the installation of the power core. Using his powers, the protagonist opens a door. He shows the corridor of the main entrance, which was bombed by the Tennin. Li Xin goes ahead and asks to handle it. A part of her armor rises. Liu Feng wonders what it is, but the captain says he will find out soon. She installs a device on the stones which then explodes. The boy realizes it was an explosive. Li assures that the zombies at the refuge entrance are dead. Liu Feng praises her work and asks her to keep watch while he is inside. The protagonist asks the system to start the repair. Then, he manages to install the power core. Now, the refuge base can be upgraded to level 2. In the bathroom, Sarah and the woman with pink hair enjoy a hot shower, commenting on the wonderful feeling. Liu Feng celebrates the upgrade of his refuge base to level 2. The system informs that the process will take 6 days and 5 hours, and that after the upgrade, the energy will last only 4 months, requiring him to seek a new source. Among the new features are 4 new facilities: teleportation portal, infirmary, combat uniform research institute, and firearm research institute. Sarah praises Li Xin's beauty, revealing that she didn't expect a hot bath, all thanks to Liu Feng. They realize it's time for the meeting and notice that the protagonist has prepared uniforms for them. Liu Feng is surprised by the appearance of the two. Li Xin questions how he had the audacity to give such provocative uniforms. He consults the system, which responds that they were made according to his imagination. The pink-haired woman says she forgives him, but next time she won't be so kind. The director starts the meeting by asking Sarah about the supplies. She informs him that they brought vegetables for 4 weeks, 65 cans of food, and 2 bags of rice, which will be enough for a month. The priority now is to find more food and new energy sources. Li Xin suggests supermarkets for food and malls or factories for energy. They already have medicine from the hospital. Sarah asks if the director has anything to add. He says the plan is good, but it's not enough to just collect food. Liu Feng stands up and asks them to follow him, revealing that he will build a greenhouse in the water pumping room. The girls offer to help, but he wants them to just observe. He orders the system to build the greenhouse, and claws emerge from the ground to start the construction, which will be completed in 2 days. Li Xin is impressed by the scene, noting that the artificial intelligence seems to obey only him. Outside the hospital, President Li begs for help. A woman shows him a photo of another person and asks if he knows her. He, infected, denies it. The woman warns that soon he will become a mutant zombie. He tries to save himself by offering his riches, but she is not impressed and hits him with a baseball bat, questioning his wealth. She mentions that some poor people survived living in the subway, called subway dogs, and that the rich's artificial intelligence chip caused the virus. The woman hits him again. A nearby man asks if Zhang Xiaoxin will really provide supplies to find the woman. She confirms but warns that one cannot trust her, as times have changed and the subway clan intends to eliminate all rich dogs. That night, at the refuge base, Liu Feng can't sleep, going through the biggest crisis of his life. It's the first time he shares a room with a girl, but wasn't that guy dating? Trying to distract himself, he asks the system to show the new plans for Refuge Level 2. The voice reveals that all Level 1 buildings will be upgraded and that new buildings will be used for research on uniforms and weapons. Liu Feng realizes he needs prestige to manufacture weapons, which may delay his progress. His transformation ability has also been upgraded to Level 2, with 4 new enchantments: Explosion, Paralysis, Acceleration, and Firmness. He is startled to see Sarah approaching, questioning why she took off her pajamas and surprised by the possibility of a romance. The protagonist fears waking Li Xin, as she might think he is a pervert. Feng is surprised to see Sarah lying in bed next to him. The boy feels uncomfortable, remembering that they met only a day ago. She presses against his back. When he turns around, Liu Feng realizes that Sarah is asleep. He didn't know she was a sleepwalker and concludes that he won't be able to wake her. Now, he doesn't know what to do. The next day, Liu Feng needs to ensure that no one discovers what happened at night. He asks the system to use the explosion enchantment on the bullet. Feng managed to get ammunition with Li Xin from the ruins, but the gun was destroyed. The transformation power comes into play. The system informs him that if he spends 2 points, the bullet will have the explosion enchantment. Despite his lack of experience with weapons, the boy remembers that his perception talent increases accuracy. The MC acknowledges that this talent is incredible. He then asks the system to add 1 point in perception, 3 in kung fu, and 3 more in strength. After seeing the panel, Liu Feng is surprised to notice that the rare compensation system is fixed. After thinking, he chooses option D, a magnetic glove from the master chip and swordsman. Suddenly, his power activates in his hand, causing pain. The MC observes his hand and realizes the strength of this new attribute. The system indicates that Liu Feng has received a new rescue mission. A woman speaks on the phone, calling him by number 9527 and saying she still remembers him. Miles away, the woman who saved Liu Feng introduces herself as Kelly and asks for help. An eagle flies through the sky. Surprised, the redhead comments that there are still eagles in the city. The MC's sister is unwell after eating zombie essence, so they need to evolve the base to level 5 soon. The redhead reveals that Kelly, who asked for help, is the president of the Li Tian group and is engaged to the health minister Zheng in a political marriage. They track the call, discovering that she is in a mall a few kilometers away. Therefore, the goal now is to search for supplies, rescue Kelly, and convince her to join the base, with a survival rate of 30%. Returning to the present, we see the city. The two pass through, facing many infected amidst the chaos. Suddenly, the girl asks him to stop, warning that ahead there are many zombies and it's better to change course. He asks why she isn't in combat uniform, but when she explains, the MC gives her an explosive zombie headshot bullet. She stores the cartridge in her leg and thanks him. For this mission, she brought only her magnetic glove, which controls metals up to 40 kilograms, her sword, and 2 daggers, but she doesn't know how to use the glove. She looks at him and says they have 2 minutes to leave. Out of nowhere, the redhead asks if he is looking at her thighs. Confused, he becomes embarrassed. Holding her sock, she asks if he has any strange preferences. Awkwardly, he asks her to stop joking and suggests he knows a quick way to get to the mall. He suggests stealing a car and hitting the road. Running to the car, she warns that breaking the window will attract zombies. He replies that he has a plan. Upon arriving, they see a zombie stuck in the seatbelt. The redhead says the car is locked and it's better to look for another one. He insists it's not necessary. The protagonist uses magnetism to pull the key from the infected's pocket. She is impressed, saying she didn't know he had that item. They open the car and kill the zombie. They throw it on the ground and speed off, attracting the infected. They run over everyone in their path. While driving, she laughs and asks if Liu Feng saw her killing the zombies. With his face against the glass, he says he saw, but asks her to drive slower. The MC says she seems happier now, to which she responds that in the old team she had to get her hands dirty every day, but now she is very happy to have left that place, telling our hero that he cannot die. Looking to the side, he sees a mutant zombie with a disgusting appearance, making the protagonist wonder if normal zombies are evolving now. Meanwhile, in the mall, the silver-haired woman is in danger, not knowing where to go, as the zombies broke the window and entered. With the infected approaching, she wonders if this will be her end. Suddenly, men arrive to save her. One of them asks how she is and suggests they leave first and talk later. They run, lock the doors, and put a bat against them. Kelly thanks them for saving her and asks who they are. The square-faced one says he is the mall's security, the short one introduces himself as Sun, and the one in the blue hoodie as a university student. She introduces herself as Kelly and thanks them for saving her life, saying she knew there were people in the supermarket and hoped for help. Roy asks how she knew. When she was hiding, she noticed cars blocking the entrance and there were few zombies, so someone was frequently killing them. She concludes that she made the right choice by coming here. The police officer thinks these rich people are smart and asks her to follow him inside the mall. Upon arriving, people ask if they are okay. While the man says he brought enough food for everyone to eat for a few days, the silver-haired woman thinks they seem like a kind team. But at that moment, the student asks who this woman is. The husband reveals that she is one of the 10 richest presidents in China, according to Forbes, making some impressed while others become irritated. Someone asks why the place is so lively. A pink-haired man appears, scratching a knife against a cabinet, asking if they brought food and trying to intimidate the newcomer. However, upon seeing her, the man is enchanted by her beauty. Then, he pulls a can from his bag and holds her by the waist, proposing a deal. He offers canned food if she sleeps with the prisoner all night. Without thinking twice, Kelly slaps the man in the face, telling him to take his filthy hands off her. In shock, the pink-haired one calls her but a gun appears aimed at his head. The police officer warns Jang-san that, even with the zombie apocalypse, he should not forget that there is a police officer present, ordering the thug to put the canned food on the ground, and if he wants to eat, he will have to go kill zombies outside with the police officer. The woman assesses that this is not the best place, and that she will need to find her destiny alone. She tells the group that she knows about logistics management and can handle food administration, but from afar, the prisoner, with a malevolent look, wishes that the woman were his. Not far from the mall, evolved zombies quickly pursue survivors. He is about to die but remembers the old man saying that in danger, heroes dressed in red will appear to save him. Suddenly, he hears a noise and goes to check if it is the red heroes, but of course it wasn't. His partner with a quick reflex hits the infected one, but the one who really saves is the hero Liu Feng. In a dramatic scene, everyone is surprised to see the great savior. The survivor is impressed to see a hero dressed in red and kneels down, crying. Suddenly a beast appears behind him, and Liu Feng quickly strikes it with his dagger, causing an explosion. One of the survivors gets caught. At that moment, the hero realizes how quickly the zombies have been evolving in recent days. When he is about to attack another zombie, the red-haired woman arrives shooting at it. The two fight together, and he uses his magnetic glove. The boy begins to struggle to kill the infected and worries because a zombie broke his sword. The sound of gunfire attracts more zombies. They decide to hide in the workshop and run there. The men thank them for saving them, but the red-haired woman says there is no time for that, and since there are no zombies nearby, it is better to start on the second floor. Just about to open the door, the protagonist is almost caught by a zombie that breaks the glass. Liu manages to kill the infected one, but now they need a new weapon. The pink-haired woman says that was the last zombie in the place, and that it is better to spend the night there. At night, they are in a room that looks like a bedroom, and looking outside, the girl says they are surrounded by zombies. The protagonist assures her that everything will be fine as soon as he finishes building the new weapon and exterminates the infected. She realizes that he has the ability to transform and wonders if he is some legendary hero. As things calm down, Obi introduces himself, saying he is an electrician, and thanks the hero in red for the help earlier. The protagonist asks if he would like to join the refuge base, as long as he works as an electrician and can eat and live almost normally. Wanting to resist the offer, the man says he needs to discuss it with his friends, but his stomach growls, revealing his desire. The protagonist grabs the food, noticing that Obi is hungry, and says he has water, food, and medicine, as long as he agrees to help at the base. Pointing his finger, the electrician shouts that he almost became zombie food, and the boy still has the nerve to bribe him to work in exchange for supplies. With the food in hand, his expression completely changes due to the smell. Regretting, OB says that in these last chaotic days, he could end up dying at any moment and still hasn't had a first taste of worldly pleasures. Confident, the protagonist tells him not to worry, as they will survive together since they are in the same boat. The woman approaches the captain, saying that his words were inspiring and that they will survive together. Angry, the man questions whether they are really in the same boat. An hour later, on the first floor, the boy needs a weapon before dawn. Searching among various options, he finds something that looks very good and thinks it is perfect. The next day, the electrician looks at the floor in shock. A horde of zombies appears. The captain warns that finding an exit will be complicated, while the electrician panics at the chaos. She realizes that escaping will be difficult since one group member is injured. Suddenly, someone screams in the street. A zombie is run over by a jeep. The driver laughs and tells everyone to get out of the way. Irritated, the man challenges, "Catch me if you can." One of the men comments that this is great, as it helps the group. Carrying the injured one, he asks what happened, and the woman replies that the zombies are behind them. At that moment, a crazy man breaks the window, saying he caught them and has a beautiful woman. Armed with a baseball bat with nails, he warns that it is time to sleep. But Li Xin is faster and grabs a weapon to shoot the invaders. Using her weapon from the Assassin's Creed franchise, she hits the third one. A woman appears behind her. She quickly dodges and asks who she is. As she grabs her weapon again, she notices something strange. Two group members are hostages. It is Virus, the captain of the Subway clan, who warns that if Li Xin tries anything, the hostages will die. Showing a photo of Kelly, she asks if she has seen her, and the captain replies that she hasn't. An injured man intervenes, saying he heard on the radio about a group of survivors who found a woman named Kelly. The blind woman thanks the boy, saying he has earned another chance to live. But someone curses at her and challenges her to a one-on-one fight. In that moment, the crazy woman accepts, charging forward. The MC appears behind the redhead, telling her to back off. He uses his new head to block the crazy woman's machetes. He wields a chainsaw with 3 blades. Who knows where he got that from? Virus notices something coming out of the horse's mouth. It breathes fire and the woman dodges, wondering who that guy is. He introduces himself as the defender of the weak, the horsehead swordsman. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mall, Kelly is sitting in a beach chair, sipping her cold juice. Some people approach, asking if she is President Kelly, and she starts to take off her glasses. With a frightening expression, she asks if she is alone and invites her to have some fun. But she simply throws juice in one of their faces, and when the other one tries to charge at her, the police officer appears with his gun, telling San to stop. Pointing a gun at the aggressor, he says Kelly was right about him. Nervous, the man asks Lou if he was using Kelly to watch him. Stepping on his head with her red heel, Kelly calls him toxic waste and says he should rot in a cell. She concludes that she will never lower herself to that level. Meanwhile, not far from the supermarket, the woman questions who the hero is, and he replies that it is a horse. Liu disarms the woman using his chainsaw. Virus steps back, but the boy breathes fire like a dragon, and the woman dodges again. Suddenly, Virus says that next time he won't miss. Liu explains that this is pointless and activates his magnetic glove. With that, Virus falls to the ground. The hero quickly approaches, applies an arm lock, and comments that she is lost. Removing the mask, the protagonist remembers hearing the woman say they would free her friends if he won. She comments that he has good reflexes and is strong, suggesting he hurry to the supermarket if he wants to find Kelly. Curious, the boy asks why Virus is after her. Laughing, she replies that the health minister, Zhang, offered a big reward for that woman. The hero, realizing the situation, comments that she won't get that chance and starts trying to knock the woman out. In a suspicious scene, she reflects that this feeling of suffocation is addictive, even as she reaches her limit. At that moment, someone starts shouting. The captain looks outside, questioning what happened. A warning appears. A dangerous mutant zombie has appeared and the system recommends immediate evacuation. A subordinate of Virus informs the captain that something is attacking the soldiers. It seems to be a large and strong zombie, like a kind of nemesis. He grabs a jeep and throws it towards the floor where the groups are. The car scares everyone on the floor, who quickly leave the area. Lou comments that they need to be quick. Meanwhile, a member of the assassin group says that the captain is injured and that the hostages managed to escape, questioning what to do. Irritated, Virus explains that they must leave first as there are too many zombies and then capture Kelly at the supermarket, eliminating everyone. In the supermarket, Kelly writes down the priority list. She informs that they will reduce food consumption, they have enough for 5 days, and that the supermarket entrances must be monitored. One of the men thanks her, while the pink-haired girl thinks she is a damn fool as she just arrived and already feels powerful. She tries to stir up intrigue, but Kelly is much smarter. Changing the subject, she asks Grandma about that pregnant woman, discovering that when she arrived at the shelter, she was normal. But now it seems she is about to give birth. Kelly wonders if the pregnant woman was bitten by a zombie. Irritated, the pink-haired schoolgirl demands an answer. She says she doesn't know any explanations and that she will personally go look for food with the group. Then she asks if the schoolgirl will do anything besides being a freeloader. The student gets nervous, but Lou warns that she should stay, as it is dangerous outside. Kelly asks Lou if he thinks there is something wrong with the pregnant woman, noticing an injury on her arm. In the background, the schoolgirl trembles with rage, thinking that this woman is a damn fool and that Lou had never been against her before. Suddenly, someone calls for the girl. It is one of the captured men, who says he also hates that woman and can help her get her man back. With a mischievous smile, he suggests they work together. Meanwhile, in the supermarket, the woman tells her husband that it hurts. She worries about the baby. Trembling, the man tries to calm her down. Seeing the little one come out, he wonders if it is really a baby. Suddenly, the old woman arrives, startled by the blood and bringing food. Upon seeing the woman in bed, the owner goes into shock and, desperate, screams that she is a zombie, but the man denies it. Suddenly, the husband is attacked. Looking back, he sees his wife in a completely different form and asks why she did this. At that moment, Liu asks if Li Hua was bitten by a zombie, and Kelly confirms that what is in her belly is not a child, but parasites. In the midst of the confusion, he asks what happened, and the girl replies that Grandma was bitten. He shoots the zombie and demands that it let the old woman go. But the zombie continues to feed. The man observes that it seems to be a mutant zombie, and Kelly asks Da Qiang to go out and protect the supplies with Xiao. Then, he asks Xiao Li to show the way, as they need to get her out of there. Nervous, she thinks that her plans have failed again and wonders if this is really the end of the world, as it is beyond her abilities. Meanwhile, the silver-haired man asks the woman to follow him, but someone opens the door and hits him with a knife. In shock, Liu calls for Xiao Li. Suddenly, the high school student draws her weapon and points it at Liu, who questions her intentions. She replies that it is that woman's fault and asks him to get out of the way. Zhang appears, saying that it is not good to fight, as they are a team. Surprisingly, Liu tells the student that she is an accomplice to murder, and Zhang asks that she be arrested. Laughing, an accomplice grabs the president, while she wonders where 9527 is. The man says he has waited a long time for this moment, commenting that she thought she was superior all this time. Then, the leader of the bandits takes the high school girl's gun and without hesitation shoots Liu in the head. Completely in shock, she asks Zhang what he did. The blonde quickly grabs her by the wrist while the leader approaches Kelly. He says that the reason he was in jail was for stealing candy from the rich and asks the blonde to use the girl as bait if the mutant zombie comes for them. Suffering, the president remembers how hard she fought to establish the company, now destroyed by the apocalypse. She also thinks that her fiancé didn't even bother to rescue her and wonders if she can trust Liu Feng. She concludes that it will be impossible for the food delivery guy to save her, and even a policeman like Liu was easily killed. Suddenly, the protagonist, wearing a horse head, appears and delivers a fatal blow to the mutant zombie. Surprised, the bandits ask who he is. Removing the mask, Feng calls Kelly and says he finally found her. Frightened, the leader realizes that he killed the mutant zombie with a single blow. Irritated, the hero arrives and punches one of the accomplices, asking what they are doing with the president. Surprised by the woman's clothes, the protagonist asks if she is okay, and she replies that she is, and thanks him for saving her. With a hypnotic gaze, he offers his jacket to Kelly, saying she can wear it. Smiling, he says he promised to save her. As she puts on the jacket, he apologizes if he smells like sweat. Smiling, the president thinks that this is the smell of a good person, and thanks Liu Feng. Interrupting, the bandit asks what he is doing, and why he is saving the rich girl. Using his magnetic ability, the protagonist tells the man to drop the weapon, and he obeys. Without hesitation, he advances toward the leader and strikes him with a fatal blow using his triple chainsaw. But at that moment, the redhead calls for help, and a gigantic zombie appears. The zombie grabs the bandit by the head while he screams to be released. Pierced by the claws, he begins to plead for help. In a few seconds, he is completely destroyed. Seeing this, the group is in shock. The system alerts about the danger. An extremely powerful zombie is approaching and recommends that everyone stay away. Irritated, the hero thinks that this creature followed them here, while the president questions if he was responsible. Liu Feng explains that, some time ago, the zombie followed them and he had no choice but to leave it behind. Suddenly, the zombie attacks with its tentacles. In a single blow, it eliminates several people, while the president asks what to do now. Putting on the horse head, the delivery guy states that he cannot just run away. Preparing his first attack, he comments that it is better not to underestimate him. Then, he spits fire at the zombie's tentacles. With his chainsaw, he quickly cuts them off. Without hesitation, he charges forward, stating that it is his chance. But the zombie is strong and counterattacks with a punch, throwing him far away. Worried, the president asks if he is okay. He replies that he is fine, thinking about the strength of the zombie and that luckily he blocked the attack with the chainsaw. Both hear a strange noise. Suddenly, the crazy invader from before arrives driving his jeep and launches it towards the monster's head. Virus gets out of the car, saying that it looks like he is in trouble, but at that moment they recognize their target. The one-eyed woman explains that the president's fiancé asked to rescue her. Intrigued, the woman asks what he requested. The hero fears that if Kelly goes after Jung, the mission will fail. Virus comments that her fiancé has been stressed and that if she were her, she would run into his arms. Focused, the protagonist, Sirius, asks Kelly to listen to him. At that moment, he notices something soft. He is shocked to realize that he touched the wrong place, as he intended to hold her shoulder. Embarrassed, he starts to apologize, saying it was unintentional. The president, Sirius, says it's fine, but asks if he can remove his hand from that spot and how long he intends to keep squeezing. Frightened, the boy withdraws his hand, apologizing. Virus asks what kind of woman would betray her own fiancé. Laughing, she asserts that she must be having problems. Kelly says it's better not to think about nonsense and that they are just allies with common interests. Virus looks confused, and the hero removes his horse mask, stating that that's enough. Changing his expression, he comments that Jung is not a good person. Surprised, Kelly asks what he is talking about. He explains that Jung built an underground laboratory in the Bluebird Hospital, studying the zombie virus and turning his sister into a mutant, and he will soon capture her. Surprised, the president wonders if the hospital doesn't belong to her group and what Jung is thinking by experimenting on humans. She also questions where he is now, and if Jung was embezzling money using the hospital for these experiments, and whether she should trust Liu Feng, who risked his life. Smiling, the woman asks Kelly if she has made her decision. Kelly replies that she will believe Liu Feng, as he risked his own life to save her. With her arms crossed, she tells Virus to tell Zheng to come save her himself. She asserts that she will not go with the woman. Irritated, the captain thinks that Liu Feng predicted her moves and that besides that, she has a strange fetish because of him. Suddenly, the zombie that was under the car begins to rise. Quickly, he lifts the car with his hands. Frightened, she curses Liu Feng, asking if he threw the zombie at her. But he replies that he had nothing to do with it, and that it was her group that threw the car at him. At that moment, the zombie prepares its attack. Surprised, the protagonist wonders why the tentacles he cut off transformed into a sword. He grabs the president's hand and starts running, stating that they need to go. The Mohawk man warns the captain to be careful, and she looks back, scared. A loud explosion echoes in the background as the two continue to run. Afraid, the delivery boy calls Li Xin, asking where she is. She replies that they eliminated all the zombies on the second floor of the mall and asks where he is. Worried, the boy says he rescued Kelly, but there is a giant zombie in the area and asks if she has a plan. After thinking for a few seconds, the woman has an idea. Over the phone, she suggests that he come to the second floor now. Upon opening one of the doors, they encounter a horde of zombies. Nervous, he realizes there are too many zombies. His body is at its limit, and there are dozens in the way. Trembling with fear, he wonders if he should give up. But at that moment, he remembers his sister Xin Tong. From the hero's expression, it seems he is about to have a lapse. The president nudges his clothes, saying there are too many zombies and they should retreat, but he denies it. With a serious expression, he states that he needs to do this for his sister. Grabbing the shopping cart and his jacket, he says it's time to improvise. Placing the president in the cart, he warns her to hold on tight. Then, he tells himself that he needs to get past the zombies. In the last days of chaos, the most terrifying thing is not the zombies wandering or the mutants nearby. Humans have no way to survive a massive army of zombies. In the background, someone says that the tanks are in position and must wait for the command to open fire. Suddenly, several cannons fire at the horde of zombies. Reporting the mission, the woman states that the target has been eliminated and that the army suffered no losses. The pink-haired woman informs that the battle is over, while another says that the army has entered the target building. She reports to the commander that the mission is complete. Meanwhile, in a secret underground base. In a meeting, someone is surprised to see the general and asks about the battle. He informs that the zombies have been exterminated and that the army has recovered an oil refinery, but they spent a lot and cannot do anything else for now. Happy, the old man says this is great and that the refinery is inoperative, so the plan can be implemented soon. The boy asks the commander about the research equipment and why so much ammunition is being wasted. At that moment, the man changes his expression, saying he should ask the health minister, Zheng. The old man with glasses observes in silence. Back at the mall, the horde of zombies continues. Surprised, the president wonders what skill this is and how the boy manages to fuse things. Using a chainsaw attached to the cart, the boy says he will call this the Run for Your Life 3000 and that the plan is to use it to get past the zombies. Watching the protagonist, she wants to know how he does this and notices he is trembling. Liu calls for the president, saying that if they can't get past the zombies, they will probably die. But to encourage our hero, he says that if he succeeds, there will be more later. And he explains that if he dies, they will die together and walk through hell together, thanking him for saving her. However, the hero asks the woman to sit down and protect herself. Taking this seriously, she puts on her horse mask. As he prepares to attack with his cart, he notices a revolving door at the end of the hallway. If he can get past the zombies and close it, he will be safe. Without hesitation, he slashes several zombies at once. His invention is strong enough to destroy the horde in his path. However, a zombie approaches to attack him, and he counters with the horse head. Observing the giant horde, he realizes that the bodies are blocking the way. Looking around, he understands that the exit is near. But several zombies grab him from behind, and he wonders if he will die there. Liu Feng runs down the hallway shouting, leaving the zombies behind. He realizes he has been injured, but remembers he got vaccinated before leaving the base. Although immune to the virus, he knows he still risks being torn apart by the undead. At the end of the hallway, he sees an electric gate, indicating the presence of electricity. With this, he has an idea. He activates the magnetic glove, knocks down the ceiling lights, and clears a path through the zombies. The plan works, and he escapes, locking the monsters in the hallway. Outside, Feng breathes a sigh of relief upon realizing he is alive. Kelly, in the cart he was pushing, asks what happened. Without many details, he goes to collect electricity and earns 150 points by absorbing energy. When Kelly starts to speak, he interrupts her, asking her to hurry to find the rest of the team. Back at the base, Feng asks Captain Li Xin if everything is ready, and she confirms. Seeing Kelly, he approaches and warns her that if anything goes wrong, she will take care of eliminating her herself. Kelly questions why Li Xin, being a government captain, is helping Feng. The officer, now calmer, acknowledges that the president seems smart and could be useful to the team. Turning to the MC, she worries that he was injured by a zombie, but he is safe since he got vaccinated. See kid? Get vaccinated. Li Xin feels relieved, but warns that the vaccine needs to be kept away from the government. Kelly feels guilty, thinking she put Feng at risk. Tension rises when Li Xin notices a lipstick mark on Feng's forehead, the result of a kiss from Kelly. She scolds him and threatens to peel his skin off if he doesn't clean the mark immediately. At that moment, OB, a team member, asks them to stop flirting and focus on the plan he finalized. But before they could relax, two men come running in, chased by a gigantic mutant zombie. Without hesitation, Feng grabs a chainsaw, shouts for everyone to get out of the way, and charges to save the two. The men run desperately while Feng confronts the mutant zombie. The monster throws him against the wall, and OB realizes he is stuck with his hand in wires. Meanwhile, the mutant advances. Feng gets up and orders the team to activate the trap. OB connects two wires with electric current, causing an explosion, but the plan fails. The trap remains standing, frustrating everyone. In a last-ditch effort, the team joins forces to bring down the trap. Meanwhile, Kelly, protecting the group, fires at the mutant, but the bullets seem useless. The statue forming the trap does not have the expected effect. Despite weighing over a ton, the monster manages to hold it back with its immense strength. Everyone is in shock as they observe the scene, and Feng realizes that the zombie's severed hand has regenerated. Li Xin notes that regular bullets are ineffective, and Feng remembers that she has an explosive magazine that she forgot to use. She tries to activate her magnetic gloves, but they are out of power. Desperation grows, and time seems to be running out. When the monster lunges to attack Feng, an unexpected figure appears to save him. It was a virus that wanted one more hanging session. She firmly holds the mutant and declares that this zombie has destroyed many of her companions. Li Xin praises her arrival and comments on the explosive bullets, and with determination, prepares the magazine and fires, surprising everyone with the impact. The bullets hit the zombie, causing significant damage. Feng, seizing the opportunity, wields his chainsaw and attacks the monster's head. This time, the blow was fatal. At that moment, the system notified Liu Feng about the essence of a zombie, an item that could help his sister awaken. Determined, he planned to deliver it to her as soon as he returned, pleased with the possibility. Meanwhile, everyone congratulated him on the victory, but he remained modest. The two fugitives questioned Kelly about the others, and she, with regret, announced that everyone had died. As for Virus, for one more hanging session, he said he would meet the protagonist again. Irritated, Li Xin warned Virus not to cause any more trouble. Before leaving, the one-eyed woman left a warning for Feng. His life belonged to her, and he should not die before she took it. Even though he was reluctant, Feng said goodbye. The system then notified Liu Feng about improvements in the shelter, including a greenhouse, a uniform factory, and other useful facilities. Taking advantage of the moment, he reminded Kelly of the agreement they had made and suggested that she join the team, acknowledging that she had agreed to enter the group. After 10 minutes of organizing, the team gathered to decide the next step, as the current location would not be safe for long. Liu Feng, as the director of the shelter, invited the two fugitives to join the refuge. Despite the invitation, the newcomers questioned his intentions, suggesting that he might just be giving orders while others worked. Li Xin intervened, introducing herself as the captain of a special operations team and assuring them that the shelter was legitimate. Convinced by her authority, the two accepted the invitation. Soon after, a mission was assigned to search for essential materials. During the search, Kelly called Liu Feng to deliver something and asked if it was true that he could absorb electricity. Before he could respond, a new monster appeared. As Li Xin opened a door to investigate the noise, the president fell onto Liu Feng, leaving him embarrassed. At that moment, the hero realized that his chainsaw was out of power. He quickly sought a solution as the monster advanced to attack Kelly. With quick reflexes, Liu Feng improvised, using electricity to create a defense. He managed to protect Kelly, feeling satisfied for acting at the right moment. The woman, in turn, was impressed with his ability to create something useful with so few resources. But for those outside, this conversation seemed suspicious. Without giving explanations, Liu Feng left, saying he needed to fetch something. Kelly remained thoughtful, reflecting on how many secrets Liu Feng still kept. At that moment, images of zombies surrounding Liu Feng's house appeared, and he decided to go down to protect her. Wearing his horsehead mask, he realized that the situation was more complicated than he expected. During the confrontation, he heard a noise. A small dog was trapped by a zombie. Feng rushed to help, but was interrupted by a gunshot. The one responsible for the attack was a spy who mistook Liu Feng, with his horse mask, for a mutant zombie. Reporting the situation, she mentioned the presence of suspicious mutant zombies near the target. On the other end of the communication, the health minister ordered that Liu Feng be taken to the base and that any resistance should be eliminated without exceptions. Liu Feng ran desperately through the streets, asking the system for the exact location of the shooter pursuing him. The system quickly responded that the sniper was positioned on the roof of the southeast building. Still panting, the protagonist tried to stay focused, remembering his aunt, who took care of him and his sister in childhood. As he moved forward, the system presented two options for Liu Feng to protect himself. However, he felt apprehensive about the choices. In the middle of the street, a new scare paralyzed him for a moment. An intimidating robot appeared, announcing in a cold, mechanical voice that it would eliminate any living human and fulfill the order to kill all witnesses. The robot was clearly a government soldier sent to take down Liu Feng. With few alternatives, Feng grabbed an improvised tool and faced the mechanical soldier. He realized he could use the machine's energy to his advantage, and using his abilities, absorbed all the energy from the mechanical armor. The robot became completely inactive. He smiled, satisfied to realize that his ability was a natural weakness for any mechanical equipment. While collecting the robot's mechanical gloves, Liu Feng wondered who had sent that soldier and why he was being hunted. At that moment, a sniper on the roof, known as Purple Owl, was reporting the situation to command, warning that the problem would be eliminated soon. Before she could act, Liu Feng launched the mechanical glove towards the roof. The explosion interrupted the sniper's communications, damaging her equipment. Liu Feng knew he needed to act quickly. If the government was there, something serious was happening. 10 minutes later, he spotted government troops capturing civilians and putting them into vehicles. His heart froze as he recognized two of the people being taken, his aunt and his cousin. He hesitated, but soon decided that no matter the risk, he needed to save them. Irritated, she complained that the soldiers should be saving them, not handcuffing them, while her daughter begged her to be quiet. One of the soldiers hit her with a punch, mentioning that her husband had died. Before she could continue, Liu Feng appeared and attacked the soldiers with all his strength, using his fists and improvised tools. He defeated them and rescued his aunt and cousin. Despite being injured, Aunt Hanya smiled upon seeing Liu Feng and said she knew he would come. However, his cousin questioned the whereabouts of Liu Feng's sister. She also mentioned that soldiers had injected a suspicious liquid into their aunt, leaving Liu Feng frightened. The soldiers began to regroup and advance, forcing them to run. Liu Feng's system alerted him to variant mutations nearby. Suddenly, gunshots were fired. The sniper, Purple Owl, had resumed her mission. Due to the fall, he was now an easy target. But before he could be hit, his aunt stepped in front of the shot. And with her last words, she asked Liu Feng to take care of her daughter. In a final act of courage, Aunt Hanya succumbed to the illness and died. With a heavy heart, Liu Feng promised to protect his cousin as the soldiers advanced. For Liu Feng, his aunt's death marked the beginning of a new phase. He needed to protect his family at all costs. The soldiers ordered Liu Feng to remain still to be captured. The tension was palpable, but before anyone could react, the system alerted. An unidentified level mutant had been detected behind him. The warning made Liu Feng quickly pull his cousin out of the area. Then, to his astonishment, a gigantic mutant appeared, fiercely attacking the soldiers. That was actually his aunt, who had transformed and was attacking everything she could to become stronger. She had become a disaster-level monster. A hole opened in her center, and from there emerged an impressive figure, a new form of his aunt, completely altered. However, this new form had lost any human memory or emotion. Without attacking them, the Scarlet Queen slowly walked toward the center of the area. Meanwhile, the sniper Purple Owl was trying to report what was happening to the minister. Before she could finish the communication, her vessels exploded, likely affected by the energy of the Scarlet Queen. On the other side, the minister was furious about the interruption and the loss of control over the situation. Overcome with pain and determination, the hero began to question whether the system could heal his aunt. He knew he would need to work hard, facing even greater challenges to recover not only the queen, but also to preserve his family. A day later, everyone arrived at the shelter in a supply truck. To everyone's surprise, the place was a well-structured refuge. Liu Feng warmly welcomed them, and Sarah introduced herself as his secretary. Kelly, observing the place, began to question whether that shelter existed beneath the hospital she had funded. Feng decided to address the issue of his aunt in the long term, as he did not have the necessary serum. Sarah took the initiative to explain more about the refuge, revealing that it was managed by an ever-improving artificial intelligence. Currently, the location had 5 main facilities. Everyone was impressed with the quality and organization. Additionally, Sarah explained about a portal in the refuge, which could only be used by the leader. She also mentioned that a greenhouse was being improved, ensuring food and vegetable cultivation. In the end, Sarah presented the rooms, kitchens, the bomb room, and the power room. Kelly, with her strategic vision, suggested building a command post for overall planning. Liu Feng approved the idea, and the system began construction immediately. After the planning, he decided to relax in a heated pool. While thinking about the next steps and possible secrets that Li Xin had, his sister appeared accompanied by his cousin. He noticed that his sister had become smarter after eating the essence of a mutant. Liu Feng realized that both were acting childishly, playing and trying to distract him. At one moment, his cousin thanked him for saving her, and he promised he would do everything to save her mother. The next day, the command post was ready. In the newly constructed room, the women were waiting for Liu Feng. It was time to gather the key members and outline the next steps. The structure impressed with its organization and the large window that allowed a clear view of the outside. Kelly highlighted the shelter's technology, pointing out that it surpassed the standards of the pre-collapse era. The command room included a private chamber, which would be used to operate a satellite lost since the government collapse. The artificial intelligence had managed to regain control of this equipment, which would now be essential for providing real-time guidance to teams on missions. When discussing the administration of the shelter, the group reflected on the need for centralization of power. Liu Feng felt torn between the democratic ideal and the efficiency of centralized leadership. Despite his doubts, he recognized that taking the lead was the best course of action for the moment. He structured the roles, assigning Kelly to manage the shelter, Li Xin for security, and Sarah as the Secretary General. With the roles defined, Liu Feng organized the individual responsibilities. Sarah used the satellite to send recruitment messages to the area surrounding the shelter. The messages soon brought 3 survivors to the refuge, 2 women and a man, who arrived with suspicion. When introduced to the shelter, they initially mistook Kelly for the leader, but soon understood the hierarchical structure. In assessing the skills of the newcomers, Liu Feng realized that only one of them had a talent for growing vegetables, while the others showed hostility and little practical usefulness. The possibility of one of them being a spy arose, catching Liu Feng's attention, who decided to observe the situation with caution. He was determined to maintain order and security in the shelter while seeking to understand the newcomer's intentions. The next day, he woke up with his sister by his side. The redhead, when she entered the room and saw this scene, immediately found it at least indecent. We see that he has now started producing protective gear for the men as well, but these are nothing sexy, just like the women's. Sarah warns that, thanks to the new survivors, they discovered that the government is creating camps for refugees. And since Zheng is there, that is the next destination. But first, they will stop by a prison that is full of weapons, because living off a little knife and chainsaw won't cut it. They continue discussing and organizing a few more things that aren't very important, until the MC gains another skill stolen from the system. And now let's get to the good part, where, in the prison of City H, we see a beautiful police officer running for her life. She instructs everyone to move forward, carefully directing the group to another path as police dogs begin to approach. Z observes, impressed by the strength of the dogs, while one of them quickly attacks her. The guard orders one of her men to fire, while other mutants appear and attack mercilessly. The squad is surrounded and everyone is defeated. Zixuan is the only survivor of the attack. She gets up and questions the presence of another person, soon realizing it is Liu Feng. Feng comments on the exchange of her gloves as more mutants appear and the fight intensifies. Suddenly a mutant is thrown against the wall, and the guard watches as the monster is destroyed. Liu Feng and the woman fight the creatures skillfully, eliminating the enemies one by one. Outside the prison, the High Priestess receives confirmation of the shipment of materials and wants the prisoners to join them. Inside the prison, there were a bunch of guys laughing at a crazy man who was chained up. The poor guy was begging not to be turned into barbecue. Then the bald guy asks if he now knows how to beg for mercy and if he forgot that he was the one who captured them before. After all, it's too late now, and let's set the kid on fire. The other extra tells the boss that the idiot was burning while the leader just laughed. The emo with a face full of tattoos is named Johnson and says it's great to get the key to the arsenal back. But there's one more thing. The police officer Zixuan had escaped. Hearing this, Johnson slaps the poor guy, saying she already has the key to the arsenal in hand. He'll give him until noon to find her, or he knows what will happen. The little guy accepts everything, and the emo, looking to the side, asks what that mess was that was happening. In the other cell, the buff blonde was getting in shape, and his name is Long Xuan. You already know the guy is tough when he has the nickname Purple Eagle. Later, Zixuan was with the protagonist wondering how many tricks he has. After sacrificing 3 people, there's a way to get those zombies. And the worst part is that he still doesn't believe that girl can defeat zombies just by punching. Out of nowhere, Xintong says she wants milk, and Liu Feng asks where he could find that now. She points to Zixuan, and you know where, but the protagonist says that there's no milk there. Then the girl is surprised, wondering if Liu Feng was talking about the milk he drinks or the other one. The The boy then extends his hand asking if everything is okay with the officer. Zixuan puts handcuffs on him, saying that the apocalypse is no reason for him to become a lolicon because the country has a lot of laws to protect minors from that. The kid freezes in fear right away, but then the girl releases the handcuffs, saying they are siblings and did this because it's her work habit, and the MC only accepts it suspiciously. Changing the subject, he asks how things are outside, and Liu Feng says the world is a mess and he came here to find some weapons. Hearing this, the girl says that in that case, they should make a deal. To summarize, she has the key to the armory, and if he promises to help capture the prisoners and rescue the prison, she will take him immediately to get everything he wants. Then the protagonist gives that sly smile, saying he will help, and Zixuan asks how many weapons he can carry alone. Later, Liu Feng was walking, thinking that the armory was probably on the 4th floor while they were on the 2nd. Going up the stairs, Zixuan says there must be prisoners guarding the arsenals, but then the protagonist asks her to wait a bit. Looking from the side through the door, he sees a bunch of prisoners gathering to eat some very suspicious food. On the 4th floor, there was a girl trying to defend herself while 2 guys wanted to have some fun. Man, those guys were really psychopaths. The guy in the beanie says that if she dares to resist, she will end up as soup just like her boyfriend. The poor girl couldn't do anything while those idiots just laughed. But then out of nowhere, an arrow hits the guy in the neck. He tries to call for help, but the protagonist had already arrived there. The blue-haired guy asks who he is and also introduces himself as Ganyan, the assassin who has already killed more than 10 people, but he quickly gets attacked to be on guard. There's even a guy who is a kung fu expert, but he also gets kicked in the face. The MC is formidable. Then, the other guy begs not to be killed because he is just a butcher. Liu Feng was furious, asking if they still considered themselves human. Looking to the side, he sees that the girl was already saved. But then, man, she grabs a knife saying she was there to take revenge. The blue-haired guy tries to explain himself, but the girl has already stabbed him. Zixuan goes to stop her, but the protagonist asks her to wait until she releases all her anger. After all, her fiancé had been killed right before her eyes. But suddenly, the girl says she will accompany him and stabs herself with the knife. Later, on the 8th floor, the guy says they are in deep trouble because they lost the 4th floor, and the second boss was also killed. Then the boss gets angry and sends the poor kid off to a better place. Saying they are almost getting the arsenal, the 3rd master has to go to the control room and open the door for the zombies to enter. But then, out of nowhere, the buff guy says that there is someone from the god of unification Shibu who wants to talk to him. And hearing this, the guy already wets his pants. Then someone enters the room, saying he doesn't need to be in a bad mood because there are a few things to discuss with him. The gas bag is named Cecilia and is a priestess of the unification Shibu, and she came to invite him to join her group. If he eats one of those items from the box, he will gain much more power. The emo was still silent, and then asks what that was. Later, Liu Feng had finally arrived at the arsenal. In the prison, the guy with the eye patch says it went badly because Longshuan was no longer in the cell and escaped. Then Johnson goes there and looks at the cell, realizing that the purple eagle dug a hole to escape and was training in that position, so no one would see. Meanwhile, that annoying girl was still bothering the emo, saying that if he eats, he will have incredible power. The guy really has no choice, and then asks what the price is. In the arsenal, Liu Feng was already fully armed, looking like those protagonists from Resident Evil. Lin Xin says that all of that is his and he can take whatever he wants. Changing the subject, he says that Xiao Chen really died, asking if they aren't going to go to F there too. Then the MC says that this is the end of the world, and he also lived through the same thing, watching his relatives die without being able to do anything. That's why his only wish now is to protect his little sister, asking to join them and live together in the apocalypse. Hearing this, Lin Xin already has other ideas, thinking that he has known him for a short time. Out of nowhere, the protagonist's sister hears a noise coming from the back of that room. There was something on the ceiling too, and suddenly a knife is thrown. But Liu Feng protects the girl. Shooting some arrows at the air vent, the badass purple eagle appears. The kid was itching for a fight, charging at the protagonist. Liu Feng tries to use his bow and arrow, but he can't see anything because of the view in front of him. Out of nowhere, the purple eagle starts doing some crazy flips, and Liu Feng can only defend against the attacks. The buff blonde guy says he did a good job, and hearing this, Liu Feng recognizes him, asking if he is Longshuan's brother. Later, the two had finished their little fight, and Liu Feng asks if the guy remembers him, as he is his brother from high school and didn't expect to see him in this place. Back then, he was recruited by the army and was still a role model in the family and also his idol during those years. Changing the subject, he mentions that there is a shelter with a lot of supplies, asking to join them, but the cool guy outright rejects it. Liu Feng tries to ask where he is going, but the guy says it's none of his business. Since he was a student in his class, he gives him a piece of advice. He should stay away from him because he is now a demon with a lot of blood on his hands. Hearing this, Liu Feng feels a chill. wondering what happened to him all these years. Sometime later, Liu Feng was analyzing the table, saying that everything was built. That is a teleportation device, and he will use it to take all the weapons and ammunition from there. The girl is surprised that Liu Feng has such a device and already regrets letting him take as much as he wanted. A few minutes later, Lin Xin asks how he did that because he grabbed all the weapons. The MC, not being foolish, says that she had said he could take everything he could carry, and suddenly someone says it seemed like he was interrupting something. The sensation of teleportation is a drag. And looking at that gas, she asks if Liu Feng found a new love after disappearing for a few days. Liu Feng says she is misunderstanding, asking why she is there. She says that the mission at the base is almost complete, and the weapon has also been received, so she came to help. Changing the subject, she asks where Xintong was, and Liu Feng says that is Officer Zixuan, who helped them find the weapons. As for Xintong, she was by his side, but the girl had already disappeared. Then the protagonist freezes in fear, asking where his sister was. To make matters worse, the emo starts talking over the loudspeaker, and he is aware that they already have the weapons, but it is not over yet because he opened the door outside the prison. They just have to wait a little until the zombies arrive to make a snack out of them. Hearing this, Liu Feng says they are in deep trouble and leaving the hall, warns that the zombies are already coming. And looking down the corridor, he sees that crazy creature. The system warns that this is a mutant zombie, and Liu Feng, trembling, thinks that something is not right. On the other side, the buff blonde guy was deep in thought about what the protagonist had said about what happened to him all these years. Then out of nowhere, a little hooded girl appears in front of him. However, that is just a ghost, and the guy asks if she wanted to take him to those hordes of zombies to be killed. Obviously, he is not going to fall for that trick and just walks over the zombies. After that, he starts to feel a headache, and looking at his hand, he sees a bunch of ketchup. That little girl was lying in the corner, and the guy tries to convince himself that it was just an illusion. However, who was there in front of him was Liu Feng's sister. Getting up, the purple eagle thinks it must be another illusion, and if he does nothing, the girl will surely be in trouble. Above all, he has to prioritize his own matters, and as a sniper, he cannot put himself in danger for no reason. Meanwhile, the zombie was reaching for the girl, and when one was about to bite her, the guy shoots it. Man, this purple eagle lives up to his name, shooting everyone. Taking Xintong's hand, he says they should hurry because the zombies are attracted by those gunshots. But then, as life is not easy, there were a lot of zombies there. The guy had already given up, saying that once again he killed a girl and wanted to apologize for everything. Almost closing his eyes, he asks if this is his destiny. Even so, this is good because he will die with all his sins. But then, out of nowhere, Xintong slashes everyone. The purple eagle, trembling at the base, didn't understand a thing, and on the other side of the building, the protagonist and his friends were running from the mutant zombie. Then the three of them end up falling, and Liu Feng seizes the opportunity but says that it wasn't his intention. Regaining composure, the little group draws their weapons, and the mutant zombie charges at Liu Feng. However, suddenly, the creature is exploded. The zombie is split in half, and Lin Xin asks if he is okay. To which Liu Feng replies that he killed the zombie with that mutant weapon and that the cybernetic equipment is really impressive. The girl asks him not to take such risks next time, and hearing this, Liu Feng feels embarrassed. He says he feels that she cares a lot about him. Of course, she responds that this is not the case because she just doesn't want her friends to die so quickly. Then the boy, full of himself, asks her not to worry because he won't die since they will live together. But then out of nowhere, someone starts talking on that speaker again, asking if he was the one who invaded the arsenal. You can see that they are very skilled, asking why he doesn't participate in their unification church, and if he did, he could be forgiven for everything he did. He could also gain the supreme power given to his teachings, just like what happened with the emo. Meanwhile, the tattooed guy was trembling for some unknown reason, and then Zixuan says they should leave them alone because they have many weapons, and if they don't surrender now, she will kill them. Then Cecilia asks if they really believe that guy sent a weak zombie to deal with them. Out of nowhere, the creature rises and becomes increasingly grotesque. The protagonist, seeing what was happening, asks to be handed a weapon. At that moment, the monster launches its attack, and Li Xin easily defends. If it wants to kill her companions, it will have to get through her first. Liu Feng was shooting at that zombie, saying he could definitely kill it. However, after that, the creature rises again. Zixuan fires more shots at it, saying it shouldn't be underestimated. Liu Feng takes the girl's weapon, saying they are no longer human and can now shoot at will. After all, they have to get used to shooting as fast as possible because this is the end of the world. Then, the cult leader says he managed to kill the believers he recruited in prison. However, they are not the only zombies he has. A bunch of mutant zombies appeared. Then Liu Feng, not being foolish, says they need to get out of there. He thinks this is not good because there are many mutant zombies, and that cult is capable of producing them. What's worse is that they are using humans to make them. After walking a bit more, the ground cracks, and everyone falls down. Man, it's just a wave of bad luck hitting the protagonist's group. Landing in the place, Liu Feng was all disoriented, asking if the two were okay. Li Xin, in that position, says everything was fine, but it seemed they had fallen from the 3rd floor. Then Liu Feng asks what happened to Zixuan, and the girl points to the side because the girl had simply hit her head. With that, it's just the two of them now, so he will pay for saving her life. The protagonist asks what she wants to do there, and the girl questions if he is scared. She just took a look, but it seems there's something wrong with those mutants. After achieving their goals, they leave, and Zixuan was also unconscious, asking if he doesn't feel anything for her. Liu Feng, however, says that's not what he means, asking why he was chosen, and she says he had saved her many times. Also because he is the first man not to die after being her teammate. The boy tries to come up with an excuse, but the girl suddenly kisses him. Doing a favor for the MC, she says she will take care of the rest. The idiot just closes his eyes, thinking this feels like something that has happened before. Then the boy starts having a fantasy in his head, and someone says that on that day, they will definitely defeat him. Ordering him to be submissive to her, Liu Feng says she is a demon who just wanted him to help her practice. Grabbing the boy, Lin Xin says she has caught him, and meanwhile, Liu Feng thinks it was very tight. The guy's hallucination was strong because the girl was even summoning a tsunami. Our boy thinks this isn't good because he was hit by 2 blows and lost the first round. However, he shouldn't be underestimated because with so many power points obtained, he can start the second round. Out of nowhere, the kid gets pumped up, almost managing to break free. He, all full of himself, asks how dare she attempt such a move against him. Lin Xin, meanwhile, thinks that if he makes another move like that, he will definitely lose. Liu Feng, not being foolish, performs the same move and takes down the girl. The girl lying on the ground says that Liu Feng is amazing and then gives up. A little later, that priestess asks if they have found them. The hooded figure, however, apologizes because they had fallen into a blind spot on the camera, and the girl asks to continue working. Meanwhile, the tattooed emo was all stiff on the ground. The priestess says it seems his evolution is almost complete, ordering to bring more people to the arena. Changing the subject, she asks what the status of someone named TT is now. Then the guy says she can rest easy because that thing was transported and placed on the 5th floor. On the other side of the floor, the Purple Eagle was not understanding anything that happened because there was a bunch of blood webs right in front of him. Then Xing Tong approaches, tearing through all of them. The pumped-up blonde thinks he has been rescued by this girl more than once, wondering who she is because she doesn't look like a mutant zombie. Having another headache, the little girl asks if he felt guilty when he killed her back then, and at that moment, a mutant zombie charges at him. Fortunately, that one was trapped, and the Purple Eagle just observes. Without wasting time, Xing Tong takes down the zombie because those who feel pity are piano. Looking up, the Purple Eagle sees a bunch of bodies on the ceiling, thinking they are all people. He starts to get a headache again, and then Xing Tong hands him a pair of headphones. As soon as he puts them on, his headache disappears, and he assumes it was some kind of sound causing those hallucinations in him. Still, he can't stop, because it seems what he was looking for is right ahead. Entering the room, they find a strange creature, and then 8 hours pass. Zixuan, waking up, finds herself in a very suspicious scene. She still hasn't seen what was on her face, and then asks if the two are really doing that kind of thing in public. Liu Feng plays the fool, saying he is just giving Lin Xin a massage. The friend finally realizes what was on her face and says it's very strange because suddenly water had come out of her face. The two in the corner just stay silent, and after a while, they are finally eating a little. Since it had been a long time since they ate canned food, she was very excited, and Liu Feng asks her to eat slowly because otherwise, it's bad for her. The system then appears saying he has unlocked a new title. The title was Awakening of the Fetish, and you know very well what it does. Then the kid freezes, thinking that she also likes the wild nature. Obviously, this was expected because it aligns with her personality. Without wasting time, he looks at Kelly's stats, and her fetish can only calm down when she has a fragrant outfit from someone. Next, Lin Xin comes close to the protagonist's ear, saying she got hurt during extreme training, but her first time was given to him. Hearing this, the boy remembers before and ends up getting excited. Then Zixuan asks what is happening, but the boy says it's nothing much, and they should leave soon. Sometime later, the group was climbing the stairs and finally reached the 5th floor. However, they did not expect that someone else was waiting for them there. That was the priestess, and welcoming them to the arena, she asks if they were the ones who defeated her followers. Liu Feng, not understanding anything, asks who she is, and she replies that she is the high priestess of the Shibu unification, and this is the first time they are seeing each other. Also, for their first meeting, she had prepared a little gift for them. Then a bunch of mutant zombies appears, and Liu Feng wonders if the priestess can control them. He also wonders if it is really possible to produce a bunch of mutant zombies en masse. However, it can't be true because the system had said those are incomplete mutant zombies and there is probably something wrong with them. Soon after, the monsters were coming out of the cage, going after the MC and his friends. Drawing their weapons, they eliminate some of them, and Liu Feng says they should fall back to find shelter because it seems he will have to use that weapon of his. Drawing the big sword, the protagonist slashes one of the mutants. The kid was fierce, taking down those monsters all at once. The priestess was just watching everything and suddenly starts crying, saying he is very strong. However, it's a shame he will die this way, ordering to kill him quickly. The two hooded figures charge at Liu Feng, and they were all mutant zombies. Liu Feng is surprised but regains his composure, saying he is no longer who he was in the past, using his lightning ability to fry the mutants. The friends were just observing how formidable the MC is, and he mentions he had already killed one. Then the remaining zombie charges at him, and Liu Feng uses his arrow, but it has no effect. He is surprised that it didn't work, but still, they will see who is stronger. Launching a flame attack, the kid incinerates that mutant. The priestess says it is impressive, but there is still one more weapon. Now the tattooed emo was huge, becoming the priestess's doormat. The kid there was bloodthirsty, saying he would kill Liu Feng. The MC was thinking that this elite level was incomplete, and now his weapon was out of energy. With the priestess telling the emo to destroy everyone, the creature starts attacking everyone. Liu Feng dodges a blow, using his fist to strike the monster. However, it had no effect, and the creature was intact, with the priestess saying, "This is the power that God gives to those who follow him." Just then, Lin Xin appears, launching a flying kick at the monster, saying she always has to deal with this kind of giant person. Meanwhile, the priestess says this is the power of miracles, and in the end, they would be the only ones left there and could finally be saved once again. Then the fight continues, and Johnson didn't seem to be having any difficulty. Liu Feng suddenly prepares another strike with his bow and arrow, launching it towards the priestess. The girl says he is very clever for figuring out that she can control the zombies, but it's a shame she isn't stupid enough to fall for such a trick. After all, he is not the only mutant spirit in the world capable of controlling these beings, and that is the gift God gave him. Hearing this, Liu Feng gets angry, thinking she controlled the zombies to protect herself from the attack. The boy, however, has no time to think because the giant mutant is already charging at him again. Our boy thinks his sister must be somewhere, and now he can only use one more attack. If it doesn't work, he will probably be killed. On the other side of the building, Liu Feng's sister was looking at that crazy creature. Long Xuan, meanwhile, thinks that the illusion is transmitted through sound waves. Soon after, the zombie lunges at the girl, trapping her. The purple eagle, seeing what happened, shoots the mutant. Then Xin Tong, noticing her clothes were soaked, gets annoyed. She charges at the creature mercilessly, and suddenly, it lays some eggs. From them come out some mutants, and the girl just watches everything. When the purple eagle looks to the side, he only sees ketchup flying. A flashback appears from 3 days ago, with the protagonist messing with that crazy system. The bipolar weapon is the one that fits best with his abilities at that stage. It is extremely powerful, releasing electric energy in the form of a thunderblade and also creating a flame that cuts through any living thing. With this, the scene returns to the present, with Liu Feng thinking there might be a third ability and that it could work. Releasing all the energy from the spear, it is clear that the fight will be fierce. Meanwhile, the priestess kept telling him to give up because there was no chance, ordering Johnson to finish it quickly. Liu Feng charges at the emo, but then he gets punched in the stomach. The poor kid goes flying, and meanwhile, that priestess continues crying, saying it is all over. However, our boy says everything was done because before flying away, he had stabbed the spear into Johnson. Obviously, that was his end, and then he explodes into pieces. The worst part is that the priestess didn't expect this to happen. Liu Feng asks if she is ready for everything that is about to happen. For her, all of this was impossible, and soon all her other henchmen had gone down. Finally, the two were doing something, surrounding the priestess. Then the blonde asks if she is really going to do that because she is the great priestess of the religion of Zeno. However, Liu Feng says that whether she wants to or not, she will kill the priestess. At that moment, the priestess says that someone named Maria is the next and the strongest source of infection in the Union, and that soon the entire area will be contaminated by her. In a few minutes, the whole place will be filled with zombies. She continues laughing there, but suddenly the wall breaks, and a mutant flies out. Then the blonde sees that this was the mutant she was talking about a little while ago and doesn't understand how he got there. The MC says it's good that she is okay, and from up there, his sister is saying that the clothes she gave her have been ruined. Suddenly, the priestess looks at the girl and asks if she is perhaps the daughter of God. When she looks to the side, she sees that her brother is there too and hugs him. On top of the boy, she says she was very scared. Meanwhile, Lin Xin was angry about something. The girl with the monsters was in that craziness of being the daughter of God, and Liu Feng says that now it's time to deal with her. Xintong, seeing who it was, gets nervous and charges at the priestess, saying that she will punish bad people, ordering her to apologize and learn the lesson quickly. Liu Feng is surprised that that woman surrendered so easily, but then someone ends up calling him. Realizing it was Kelly, he asks what he can do for her. Then the girl says that the spy has finally been caught. Liu Feng asks if they found them, and Kelly replies that she found the spy and discovered the organization behind him. They are from the Subway clan and entered the hospital just before reaching the city. That's why she will put them in the dungeon and annihilate them quickly. At this, Liu Feng says he will finish everything he has to do and then leave. Meanwhile, Xintong was giving the priestess a somewhat suspicious punishment. Ignoring her, Liu Feng goes to check his attributes, and she had some interesting things to control zombies. Our boy thinks she is special, but he can't take care of her until he knows her purpose. Looking to the side, he asks what his sister was doing. Taking a part of the mutant, she seemed eager to absorb its essence. Looking down, he also saw that mechanical arm of the emo that had gone as a base. The protagonist, not being foolish, absorbs that item. Looking at the statistics, he realizes it was indeed something that shouldn't be thrown away. Suddenly, someone appears, and it was our boy Long Xuan. Liu Feng couldn't believe it was him. And the purple eagle says he was there too. At this, Xintong says it was he who helped her get to this place. Long Xuan asks if Lin Xin, the goddess of death, really joined them, while wondering if that girl is the protagonist's sister. Then Lin Xin says there are rumors that he massacred a bunch of civilians and didn't spare even children, and in the end, the court's dispute decided that he would stay in that prison. Hearing this, Long Xuan doesn't say anything more. When he starts to leave, Liu Feng tries to stop him, but Lin Xin says they should let him go because he is very dangerous. At this, a flashback appears in our hero's mind with a guy saying that there is only one reason to join the army, because a real man must have the courage to sacrifice his life for the country. The worst part is that it was this guy who saved his sister. That's why he needs to know what happened to him all this time. Then our boy says he trusts him and can enter his shelter whenever he wants. Man, the purple eagle likes to keep that Ed aura and asks how he dares to invite him to his team. Liu Feng thinks he will take the risk because if he agrees, he will be able to see the information panel to know what happened while saying he doesn't think he is a bad person. A little later, a group was being ambushed by someone, but then the two hooded figures go down. Liu Feng was the one doing that, telling them to give up because it was the last warning. However, the masked girl says that the Subway clan will never surrender, but after taking a few hits, she says she will give up. Liu Feng asks why they tried to invade them and if the Subway group knows everything they have done. However, the girl says no because they are a separate squad and the headquarters doesn't know where they are. Meanwhile, Liu Feng realizes that there are 3 people, and first, they will make them prisoners to obtain information and will use them as workers to atone for their sins. So far, the priestess was still there. Zixuan says that she was the one who had killed many of her companions, and because of that, she will take revenge. That monster she created before had devoured several of her companions, and now only 4 guards remain. The blonde girl, however, says that all of this is an order from her church, and if she doesn't do it, she will be killed, or she would end up the same way as them. Zixuan asks if she thinks he would believe that lie, but Liu Feng tells her to stop it. He knows very well that he wants to kill her, but he has to keep her alive because they depend on the priestess to get more information from the headquarters and end this mess. He asks her to join him, and then she can do whatever she wants with that woman, so Zixuan agrees, saying that he has to build a prison in the shelter as well. Soon after, he looks at the police officer's status, and she has a higher chance of obtaining information from prisoners and recruiting one of them. But then another survivor appears, saying he has a suggestion. They can build a labyrinth, preferably with a strong barrier and surveillance cameras to keep enemies out of the shelter. Lin Xin, however, suggests building a shooting training field to improve the guards' accuracy. Liu Feng analyzes all the suggestions and immediately puts the complex system to work. Then he says they will rest that night because they are going to the North Camp tomorrow. The next day, everyone was prepared for the next mission. The kid was still brooding because he didn't expect Kelly to talk to him last night. She had said that the base is updated, so they don't need her at the command post. Therefore, she should spend the morning with him to find Zheng Tian and Xiong to get more details. Hearing all this, Liu Feng thinks it seems like Kelly cares too much about her workers. There is a lot going on, so he can only go with Kelly to the North Camp, and even though the base hasn't gained many levels, he now has Long Xuan by his side and many weapons. The worst part is that there is that annoying mission to prevent the camp from being contaminated. In this, the MC says they have to leave soon and suddenly notices something. In another city, there were some soldiers shooting at zombies. The one with blue hair is named Chu and tells everyone to just shoot. There were a bunch of soldiers protecting some civilians there too. However, there were too many zombies and they end up breaking through, but the MC arrives to take care of everything. You already know the guy is formidable when he only uses a sword in an apocalyptic world. The blue-haired guy asks who he is, but Liu Feng says they should talk later. That electromagnetic sword was modified last night, and that's why he will test it there. He slices through everyone in front of him, and the soldier just watches everything without doing anything. Also, because he doesn't need to do much since Liu Feng is there, Long Xuan was shooting from a distance too, and together they took care of all the hordes. Introducing himself, the soldier says his name is Chu, asking if he can know Liu Feng's name. However, Liu Feng tells him not to be mistaken because he just didn't want to see civilians being killed. The kid still held a lot of resentment towards the soldier about what had happened to his sister before. Looking to the side, the MC hears something, and there was a couple trying to pass to get into the car in front of everyone. Chu asks what they were trying to do, and the pink-haired girl, looking ahead, realizes that Liu Feng is there. A little before this happened, the protagonist was saying he would take Kelly, and she thanks him, but notices that Liu Feng doesn't seem to get along well with women, asking if he has ever been with anyone. Then he tries to make an excuse, saying that even if he had been with someone before, he had never touched her. So the girl thinks she will have to teach Liu Feng not to be intimidated when meeting a woman. The next scene returns to the present, and Kelly was watching all of that without doing anything. Apparently, that pink-haired girl was the protagonist's ex-girlfriend. Unlike Liu Feng, who sympathized with others, the guy in front of her is much better, while our hero is just a loser to her. Suddenly, however, Kelly appears, asking what Liu Feng is doing. The guy next to that girl already has his eyes on her, and the girl asks who she is. However, Kelly says that it doesn't matter, and the important thing is that she had to thank her. After all, she had given him a great and powerful man. He is so good that you know where he makes her happy every night. Liu Feng, not understanding a thing, asks what she was doing, and then she says that this is to give him a prestigious leadership abroad, thinking that she will let him know about her influence sooner or later. Long Xuan just observes everything, thinking that this Kelly has a strong desire for control and still wants to know how Liu Feng got involved with these people. Then the guy with the white hair resorts to violence, saying that he is mocking him. But then the protagonist grabs his head, saying that he needs to be careful with the way he speaks. The protagonist's ex, however, apologizes, thinking that Liu Feng was completely different from before. The Purple Eagle thinks the same thing because Liu Feng has probably gone through some very interesting experiences. Suddenly, Chu says that there is no time for fights because a bunch of zombies are approaching, and they need to get out of there now. Encountering a horde of zombies is the most dangerous event of the apocalypse, and those in the city have enough power to destroy entire lines of the army's defense. At that very moment, the group of the guy with the blue hair was going through this. In this, he thanks Liu Feng for saving him, but they need to deal with that wave of zombies quickly, asking to follow the convoy that will cover them on the way. Grabbing his shotgun, he states that if they don't want to die, they need to get in the car immediately. Then a bunch of civilians were eager to get inside the bus. However, the muscular guy was once again being a nuisance to them. The guy really has no mercy and does it as if it were nothing. With that, the door ends up closing, but then Liu Feng tells them to get into his car. In the other convoy, Chu says that all the vehicles are coming right behind and will use 3 machine guns to clear the way. However, they need to be careful of jumping zombies and also with the open windows and doors. The army will never give up on a single citizen and will go to the refugee camp in the north. Meanwhile, the convoy was running over all those zombies. The annoying couple there just watches, and Liu Feng says that fortunately the car is strong, but if it continues like this, it will be flipped sooner or later. Hearing this, Kelly says that looking at his face, he was apparently thinking of something to modify his car. Liu Feng says he will really do that while thinking that he had almost forgotten about his ability to modify things. Putting his hand on the door, it suddenly shines and then a bunch of spikes comes out of the car. Long Xuan watches everything in silence, asking how he did that and if it is some kind of mutant power. In this, Liu Feng says that there are zombies jumping on the roof of the car, but he can continue driving calmly. However, he climbs on top of the car, saying that he will play with all of them. The protagonist's ex notices that there is someone up there, and the muscular guy says that the idiot is just doing that to get attention and will soon be in trouble. Liu Feng remembers the conversation he had with Kelly about reputation, and he says that it is time to gain a little of it. The muscular guy says that there was a zombie almost biting Liu Feng, but then he stabs it. There was a little woman there too, but then he takes her as well. The group doesn't understand anything about how Liu Feng managed to kill that zombie with just a little sword, but then out of nowhere, they hear a noise on the roof. The zombies were up to no good. Next, the system gives another mission where they have to save each person from the bus. In this, Liu Feng says that it is an opportunity to use his new item, and then he summons that emo iron armband, using it to reach the other car that was next to them. The zombies had entered there, but then Liu Feng appears there too. The girls in the corner fall in love instantly, and the muscular guy, meanwhile, thinks that the idiot managed to kill a zombie again. Liu Feng was tanking everything alone, but then a zombie notices, and then the muscular guy throws the pink-haired girl at them. She doesn't understand what happened because she just wanted a better life, but people always attract her. Wondering why she always encounters men like this and why she was missing him so much at that moment. The zombies had already gotten her, but then someone started shooting at them. Obviously, it was our beloved sniper. Liu Feng continues to take down everyone, but the car they were in suddenly changes direction. The worst part is that the big guy was at the door, and he only sees a little hand behind him. You know what was about to happen there. Meanwhile, Chu was still on the radio saying they need to find a way to escape. A little later, that crazy horde finally ended and the mission was accomplished. Suddenly, someone appears behind the protagonist and, calling him handsome, thanks him for the earlier help. Man, Liu Feng could definitely build a harem if he wanted to, but he has to stay loyal to his friends at the base, right? While the girls were flirting with our guy, he noticed something. There was a zombie that looked different. It was literally staring at him. Night falls, and the little group was gathered around the campfire, thanks to the MC. It's a shame they have so little food now, but fortunately, they can return to the base in the morning. However, Liu Feng remembers the conversation he had about supplies with Kelly, and mentions he has some canned food. He can relax and ask everyone to light a fire and cook the food. Shortly after, Chu says that this food is quite rare at this time. The three girls next to him also try it, and it seems like they were having something else instead of being happy to eat. A little later, Kelly was inside the car, looking at her computer about a certain Zhang who sabotaged her research institute. Assuming he is also looking for that thing, she just remembered that she asked Liu Feng to befriend the army members, and because of his personality, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Still by the campfire, Liu Feng wasn't shy, saying that cutting down those zombies was easy. Chu says it's amazing, and that's why they should toast to the Red Sword Master and enjoy this incredible night. The little group in the corner was very happy to eat that food, and unfortunately, this is the reality of the apocalyptic world. At that moment, Calvo says that Liu Feng shouldn't sell that canned food when they get to the city, because if he does, something terrible will happen to him. Then Liu Feng asks why Uncle Fu is saying that. He says he heard that this isn't all the food there is, and when they get to the city, it will attract a lot of attention because there are many bad people who will want to kill him to get the food. However, the protagonist wasn't paying much attention to that and just wanted to drink a little. Then the blue-haired girl calls him into the tent, saying she will take him to rest a bit. Our boy didn't understand anything, saying that this didn't look like his cabin. Then the girl throws him onto the bed, saying she will take care of the rest. The kid is a virgin and says she shouldn't act that way. The girl asks if he doesn't like her. She had been tired for many days, and he not only saved her from some zombies, but also gave her food to eat, so she just wanted to return the favor a little. However, it only made him feel more disgusted, and having no other choice, the boy says he will let her repay him. Suddenly, the whole group of friends appears there, and with that, they are going to have fun all night long. For Liu Feng, this is incredible, and out of nowhere, he was fantasizing that it felt like the time when he was a teenager and had 3 teachers giving him special lessons, if you know what I mean. In his mind, the kid was in paradise, and in the end, he ended up getting very tired. But youth is his advantage. After all, he had to put in the effort, and it's a joy to learn that way. A little later, Long Xuan was loading bullets into his gun to move on to a better place. The guy literally did a Russian roulette, but the gun doesn't fire. Then he thinks that God doesn't want him to die there. Liu Feng is very mysterious, as there's no way to know how he managed to gather so many people for the shelter. Suddenly he hears a noise and quickly draws his sniper, realizing it was that buff guy from before. But man, the dude had already turned into a zombie. Out of nowhere he moves out of the line of sight and Longshuan is impressed by his speed. An hour later the soldier was calling everyone to gather. The people want to know the reason for all this, and Shu replies that he just received news that some of them are infected. Suddenly the protagonist draws his sword, saying that the buff guy is a zombie. The people still don't believe it, and the soldiers order them not to move, or they'll shoot. The guy with blue hair says he believes in Longshuan and hoped he could show proof. Otherwise, he would have to take him to court, but our hero asks him not to worry, remembering that Longshuan had said there was something wrong with that man, because if he hadn't been watching, he would have probably gone after Kelly at that moment. Our hero's ex, however, still doesn't believe it, saying that something is off. Longshuan is straightforward and grabs his weapon, saying it still protects him, ordering to be left alone and to kill him once and for all. Meanwhile, the guy listens to the conversation, and he is definitely not pure. He is certainly no longer human and says they should try to kill him if they have the ability, but no one has the courage to do so. But suddenly, Liu Feng drives his sword into him, saying he made a mistake because in these last few days, he will kill whoever he wants. The muscular guy falls hard to the ground, and the protagonist's ex says he is a murderer. Hearing this, Liu Feng admits he really made a mistake, and that she should prove her own results. Suddenly, the zombie bites the girl's head off, and Liu Feng, not caring about anything, thinks he should just say goodbye to his past. Then Kelly appears, saying this was a good moment, and Liu Feng asks if she thinks he was trying to improve his reputation, because in fact, she is wrong, and no one can threaten him. Hearing this, Kelly feels something more, but notices something in the protagonist's pocket. The kid still had the underwear from that night he had before. While the fight was going on, the purple eagle was there in the corner thinking about how they came together, but it is still quite interesting. The next day, the roads hadn't changed at all because there were a bunch of zombies, and our hero's convoy was passing through. The kid was relaxed, not even looking like he was in an apocalyptic world. He was thinking about refuge options when the bald guy calls him over. Later, the two continue talking, and Liu Feng says he seems to know a lot about everything, asking what he does. He replies that he is a researcher for the government's forest project. Liu Feng is surprised, but I don't even know why. Suddenly, the old man says there is something up ahead, and it is basically a refugee camp that looks more like a whole fortress. In the forest, the protagonist's ex was lying on the ground. The zombie takes the opportunity and goes for her body to take control. She still hadn't let go of Liu Feng's leg. At the fortress gate, Liu Feng was impressed because that wall is really incredible. Suddenly, someone calls for him, and Chu says he must go through the formalities to enter the city while the girls in the corner say they would be free to play with him later. In this, he says goodbye to everyone, thinking that the city is looking really good at that moment. At that moment, someone calls for him, and the guy says he is Director Huang, responsible for the quarantine of refugee infections. His belongings have already been evaluated, and they will give him some cereal as compensation because they will go to quarantine later. Hearing this, Liu Feng says he doesn't lack food, asking if they can leave soon and get his things. However, Huang says he shouldn't use the military to threaten him because he is from the research institute. Seeing everything that was happening, Liu Feng realizes that the city is not so peaceful. There was also a lot of chaos there, and Huang just gives a signal, and the soldiers shoot another guy who was there. Everyone is scared of Huang. He really has influence there. Liu Feng threatens to draw his sword, but suddenly Huang becomes infatuated, and it was Kelly who was there telling Liu Feng not to be so impulsive. Handing over some cigarettes, she apologizes for everything that happened. Huang is surprised because they are real cigarettes, and since she knows the rules very well, she must know that, asking if she would like to stay with him for a night. But suddenly Liu Feng stabs him. Oh boy, the kid is now a stump, and meanwhile, there was a blonde girl laughing, saying there was something making Director Huang scream, and it seems the surprise has appeared. The soldiers, not understanding anything, were trying to help Huang, and Liu Feng says that Kelly will bring problems because of her beauty, and for that reason he has to be careful. Hearing this, Kelly just apologizes, as she didn't expect this to happen, and soon after, Huang orders to kill everyone. Obviously our boy was already prepared, and suddenly that blonde girl appears again. To be honest, I can't tell if this is a man or a woman. Then out of nowhere she slips, and the soldiers end up surrounding them. Seeing everything that was happening, Liu Feng uses his bracelet to take the weapons from all the soldiers. The little girl says she is definitely right, and Liu Feng is probably a mutant. Hearing this, Huang is surprised and asks who this kid really is, and the blonde girl says he is a member of the 4 great forces at the northern base of the city, and therefore they should let them enter the city without delay. Meanwhile, Huang was saying that they need to stop this nonsense because his hand still needs to be healed. However, the poor guy is just ignored, and the blonde girl says she will take them to the residential area. At this point, Huang uses the radio to call a gang called the Dragon Gang because they should help him teach this mutant a lesson. Then Liu Feng asks if he can know the girl's name, who is actually a man named Huang Bingbin. Looking at the boy, he wanted to know if his ability was transformation, but Liu Feng says it's just a magnetic glove that can attract metal, asking what his ability is. Then the kid says he can only move objects the size of that, so it's nothing special. Suddenly, our boy looks up and has finally arrived at the refugee base. The northern part is divided into 3 districts, and the Lewi district is a place where everyone lives, and ordinary people can enter with authorization. The Li area is where elite officers and generals live, along with some foreign friends, and ordinary people basically can't even get close. The other side is just an external area where the refugees stay, and all those who have just entered the city and haven't contributed will be placed there to see if they will be infected. Hearing this, Liu Feng says it's all right, so he will settle in and visit the association tomorrow, and the boy says that his association will have many benefits. Changing the subject, he should get in the car soon because it will take him to where he will stay. A little later, the group was walking through the city. Then Liu Feng introduces his friend, saying her name is Kelly, and the one driving is Long Xuan. Huang Bingbin says she is quite beautiful and has impressive assets, and it's no wonder Liu Feng was looking directly at them. The kid doesn't even hide it, but suddenly the protagonist looks to the side, realizing there were a lot of people who were really in misery. In that district, there was no peace, and it was a complete mess. Everywhere he looked, there was a fight, and seeing all this, Liu Feng remembers what the bald old man had said earlier. At this point, Kelly comes closer, saying he shouldn't be ashamed because he is very kind, and if he hadn't saved her, he could be in the same situation as those girls before. Liu Feng says she is right, and then asks if the house that had been given to him won't be so bad after all. Huang Bingbin says it's right there, and up ahead, there are only some shacks. The MC freezes at that moment, saying that place isn't livable, and he would prefer to stay in those wooden houses they just passed. Then Huang Bingbin asks him to join his association, and as long as he reaches a B rating, he would have a complete house. A little later, the group had already gotten out of the car, and Huang Bingbin says that will be his tent. Liu Feng thanks him for everything he had done and for saving him earlier, and the boy says that's what he should do. Our boy puts his hand in his pocket and handing over a can of food, says they had helped a lot, and this is a token of gratitude. And the kid liked what he received, and with shining eyes, he thanks him. As he leaves, he reminds him to remember to go to the Mutant Association tomorrow. Suddenly, the protagonist encounters an old man who asks if he is Liu Feng because he wants to talk to him. Liu Feng already sensed that nothing good would come from this, asking what he wanted. Then the old man says he is there to teach him never to offend superiors. The purple eagle was not having any of it and pulls out his sniper, but the guy says he can't shoot in the city because he will be shot by the military. Soon after, Huang Bingbin realizes it was the Dragon Gang, asking if they can afford to offend them. Suddenly, the old man slaps the kid, saying he is not afraid of his mutant association. Liu Feng was watching everything, and then Huang Bingbin tries to counterattack, but it's obvious it wouldn't work. The old man says that other people fear him because they don't know his level yet, but unlike them, he knows him clearly. Moreover, among the other mutants on the mutation list, his body basically rejects no mechanical transformation, and because of that, he is not afraid of him. Suddenly, the protagonist appears, saying he also has some tricks. The old man, staring at Liu Feng, says that his defense doesn't seem too bad, suggesting they make a bet. If he loses, he has to give up his armor, and Liu Feng says it's interesting, but it's not fair for him to bet alone. If the old man loses, he has to give up his left arm. Hearing this, the old man smiles. The guy really isn't afraid of death and accepts the challenge. The protagonist extends his hand. The old man just glances at it and then shakes it. With his eyes closed, Liu Feng can see that the guy's body is mechanically modified and can alter it, being able to control it. Watching the battle, the old man's henchmen were all cheering for him, and our boy was calm, saying he could handle him and could leave. Suddenly, the guy lunges at the boy, but he easily dodges, leaving the henchman surprised by what happened. Liu Feng was there, casually saying he almost hit him, and the cyborg says that since he is young, he will let him go. Obviously, this was a lie because the old man was actually having a stomachache. His body should have been able to get rid of it, but there was really something strange. Suddenly, the henchmen get all excited. After all, they had never seen that battle stance their master was making. Liu Feng just observes everything, and the old man even considers that it was him who did something. Next, the protagonist punches him, and the guy just gets more irritated, saying he will kill him somehow. He tries to land some hits, but Liu Feng defends everything. It didn't even look like a real fight, but the henchmen think that everything is happening just as their master wanted. The legend says that once the martial arts of his master's family are unleashed, the muscles of the entire body will make a different sound, and that is exactly his supreme power. He probably used this trick before to kill several Class C mutants. However, the old man was desperate, thinking he was almost out of control and his vision was getting darker. Suddenly, he starts running away from the battle to a corner to relieve himself. The soldiers freeze immediately while Huang Bingbin looks on with that expression. Of course, Liu Feng wouldn't let this slide, saying he had lost and therefore would accept his arm. A little later, the protagonist group was discussing the next task. Kelly says they successfully entered the Chengri base, and the main objective is to investigate someone named Tianxian, while the secondary goal is to recruit refugees for the shelter population. Liu Feng asks what they should do, and Kelly says she heard that Tianxian was looking for his research institute and thought he wanted that thing. The micro-robot technology, which is the main scientific research project studied jointly by the group and the New Alliance of Rome. This technology can be used as military medicine and even in space, and before the end of the world, his laboratory was promoting this project. Only he knows where these samples are, and they need Tianxian to obtain the test products of nanotechnology at one stage. Then the scene shifts to the black market in the outer district, where Liu Feng was with Kelly. She was snuggled up to him, saying she would go with the boy because it's easier to attract others' attention. Her family has a secret mark that is usually engraved in a hidden place, and that's why they will find this mark. Walking around, they found a bunch of things and finally located the right place. Entering the establishment, the bunny girl welcomes them to the horse bar. Liu Feng says this bar doesn't seem very friendly, and Kelly says it should be around there. Suddenly, a worn-out old man approaches them. He says he finally found her, and Kelly asks if he's Grandpa Kane. Then the guy kneels down, saying he has been wandering around for a long time and finally reached the point where the young lady came to see him so he could die peacefully. Changing the subject, Kelly says that over there is Liu Feng, and he is the guy who saved her. At that moment, they sit at the table, and Kelly asks where her father was and if the transfer went well, and the old man says he lost contact with him when he went to the shelter during the apocalypse. Kelly asks which institution sent the samples because she needs to find it before Tianxiang does, and the old man, not understanding anything, thought she was the guy's fiancée. When the end of the world began, he transported the experimental project to the K1 Research Institute and then went to the northern city base to wait for the girl. Soon after, the old man says he has a photo of the address. Handing over the paper, the protagonist sees it and immediately trembles. Old Kenny basically had a rather peculiar photo. Then he gets embarrassed, saying he handed over the wrong photo, and then gives the correct paper. The K3 Institute is hidden in the basement floor of the Shinan City Tower, 10 kilometers away. Hearing this, Liu Feng looks to the side and suddenly spots a girl who seemed a bit drunk. She says she wants to drink more, and the bald guy says it's all right because he will take her home so they can have some fun. However, he gets slapped right away. The girl had no intention of being with him. Earlier, he had made a bet with her that he could drink 3 shots and didn't pay for her, but still wanted to leave. At that, the guy gets angry and goes after the girl, but then the MC intervenes, saying that a man should not hit women. The guy was being a feminist today. Then the 2 extras go after him, but the kid just takes them down. The other poor guy got kicked out of the bar. If they don't want to die, they should get out of there soon. And seeing everything that happened, Kelly says that Liu Feng has changed a lot. Suddenly, that crazy girl in the corner falls to the ground, and the protagonist just watches. A little later, the group had returned, and Liu Feng had taken that girl to his house too. Suddenly, he receives a mission where he has to get a thing called nanocore technology. Then that dark girl gets up, but then hugs the protagonist, saying she wants to drink a little more. He had saved her before and seems to be quite attractive. Then the kid starts shouting in the cabin, and Kelly, entering there, asks what happened, coming across that girl vomiting out of nowhere. A few hours later, that woman was feeling better. She says she will introduce herself, and her name is Chin, and she is a doctor from a clinic, thanking him for picking her up when she was unwell. Then Kelly says that since she is a doctor, her business must be good. The girl says it's more or less that. And changing the subject, she says she didn't expect the coffee to be so good. Most people coming from the outer zone are poor, and there's nothing like a source of drinking water. Not only that, because the Zonggu district doesn't care, and crimes happen there, leading to a bunch of gangs oppressing ordinary people. Even so, civilians are not willing to leave the city to face the zombies. There are zombies everywhere outside the city, and inside it, not a single person deserves to be saved. There is also the fact that the leaders are hiding in the inner zone while the workers are stuck in the middle, which is basically hell. Hearing all that talk, Kelly says that Doctor is quite valuable, and soon after she says she is leaving. Approaching the protagonist, she asks if he has worn his body out some time ago, because when she got to him, she noticed he was a bit weak, so he should remember to improve. As a thank you for helping, she will give him her business card and should go to the clinic if he needs anything. With the girl leaving, Liu Feng just observes everything, thinking that woman has something different about her. A little later, Liu Feng was walking around, and the place was really miserable because everyone was literally starving. Everyone walking there was asking the boy for food, but unfortunately, he had nothing to give. There were even some church people trying to help the needy, but the other guy there says not to believe them because the people who followed them never came back. Seeing everything that was happening, Liu Feng only thinks that he has to forget it. After all, he has to finish his mission first. Arriving at the Mutant Association, he ends up meeting Huang Bingbin again. Today, the vice president is at the association, and she would be his testing officer. Entering the hall, Liu Feng is left speechless because there were indeed a lot of different people. Everyone there didn't have a very friendly face, and Huang Bingbin says that the vice president is waiting for them on the second floor. Suddenly, the MC notices something, and across the table, there was a guy who was very nervous. Out of nowhere, the kid had turned into a mutant, but then someone appears to resolve everything. Stabbing the zombie, he immobilizes it, and Liu Feng is surprised because he managed to do this with just one movement. The gas there was clueless, and that was the vice president asking who he was. Then the blondie introduces himself, telling the vice president that he is Huang Bingbin. The person next to him also has some mutations, and the vice president then orders the guy next to her to save the people. They should also follow her to the second floor to take a test. While they walked, Liu Feng asks what will happen to that person from a moment ago, and Huang Bingbin says that he is just a runaway mutant. Some are not very well controlled, and their power ends up showing. In the most severe cases, they even become mutants, and that is why the association needs a high-level mutant. Listening to the whole conversation, Liu Feng thinks that this is probably similar to his sister's situation, and after that, the vice president says they have arrived. In the testing room, she asks him to show his ability. Meanwhile, Liu Feng thinks that he cannot show his manufacturing ability, and then says that his skills are mainly for weapons that can be strengthened and repaired. One of the examples was the one he was making now, which consumed 20 points to enhance. There can also be some changes, and one example is that sword catching fire. The vice president is surprised because the weapon can still be enhanced, and this is a very rare ability. Rumors say that there are some of these in the military research institutes. Soon after, she draws her sword, asking if he could possibly repair it. It belonged to her family, and she had grown up with it since she was young. However, it shattered when she was killing a mutant zombie, and if he could help repair it, she would definitely be grateful. At that, Liu Feng asks her to stand up because he is also someone who loves swords, and this favor will be on him. He then uses his repair ability to make the sword as good as new. Looking at the statistics of her sword, the girl says that this is simply amazing. Suddenly, she bows, saying that he is an excellent repairman and has definitely helped. Her rank is a level A mutant, and she can become a member upon completing another task. After doing that, she will give him a gift. Meanwhile, Huang Bingbin couldn't believe it, saying that he also earned a favor from the vice president, and no one in the central district will dare to mess with him. There are 3 level SS mutants in the entire city, and if he continues like this, he might become one of them too. Hearing this, Liu Feng thinks that his ability is probably close to rank S. A little later, the president asks Liu Feng to continue the procedures to take his mission. The girl in the corner can't believe that the vice president was there in person, while the other mercenaries also wanted to know why she had appeared with that guy. At that, the girl says that Liu Feng passed the test and can become a member as long as he completes one more mission. The MC sees all the possible tasks and then becomes interested in one, saying that he will accept the mission to explore the city of Xin'an. However, Huang Bingbin says that he should wait because Liu Feng should actually take care of the manufacturing tasks and not take risks outside the city. Obviously for Liu Feng, everything was fine, and he asked the vice president to confirm everything. At that, she looks to the side, asking why the genetic runaways are still there, and the blue-haired girl asks to wait because Dr. Qin will appear immediately. Then out of nowhere, that doctor appears again, and the protagonist is surprised because he had called her Dr. Qin. A little later, she was already taking care of that guy who almost turned into a mutant. With the patient stabilizing, the doctor pulls out a clipboard, telling the vice president that there are a lot of expenses to pay. Suddenly, Qin realizes that Liu Feng is there too, and then asks if his blood could heal his sister because she also has symptoms like that. She asks if they are talking about military escape syndrome, and that they should go to her clinic because they need to discuss it regarding the medical fee. After doing some shopping, they finally arrived at the place where that girl lives. She asks what the situation is that our MC is in. He says that his sister was interrupted in the process of becoming a mutant, but is still not in a very good condition, asking if by any chance his vaccine is effective for her. Hearing this, Qin does not believe it, and then asks Liu Feng to take her to his sister immediately. However, our boy says that his sister is not there right now, but will bring her next time. The doctor says that his serum will probably not be good for her, but can make inhibitors for her. At this point, Liu Feng mentions that he did a research mission in the association city and will leave tomorrow, taking her to see his sister afterward. Then Qin says it's okay, and since the boy saved her, she will count on him. Suddenly, someone opens the door, and there are a bunch of kids, one of whom apologizes for not knowing there was a guest, but they were actually very hungry. When the doctor sees who it is, she approaches the children, handing them some groceries. Seeing that, Liu Feng cannot believe it, thinking that the can that Qin had picked up a little while ago was probably for these children. The worst part is that there's no way to know why she did all this. Then the girl really predicted what the protagonist was thinking, saying that he must be curious about why she is helping these children. The northern camp of the city had been established some time ago, but she was betrayed and seriously injured. At that time, ordinary people would take their clothes and sell them, but with those children, it was different because they simply saved her. They gave her the only food that was left, and at that moment, she understood that because of them, she should not die easily. These children are the only light in a dark city like this, and the protagonist, meanwhile, only sees those children playing. Suddenly, one of the boys bumps into someone, and then the poor kid has his food can crushed. The old man does not spare even the child, asking when the doctor will return the money he owes. Looking out the window, the doctor realizes who it was. Seeing what was happening, Liu Feng asks if she is in trouble because he can handle this easily. Qin, however, says that even if he is a mutant, he cannot deal with this and will probably just end up getting hurt. After all, they are mostly local gang members. With the child in hand, The guy says that if Chin cannot leave, he will kill all his beloved children. The guy who had been beaten up by the protagonist before was back. The dude was just watching, and the old man tells him to shut up because it was just a mistake. That idiot not only embarrassed him in public but also grabbed one of his arms, and if he encounters him again, he needs to take him down. Suddenly, someone puts a hand on his shoulder, and there was the formidable MC. At that moment, the guy freezes. It was all just talk. Everything he said was a lie, but suddenly the old man stands up and goes after Liu Feng. The doctor tries to stop the fight, but there wasn't enough time, and Liu Feng had already taken the guy down. No one understood anything because the kid is formidable. Our boy, all confident, then says to go back and tell his boss that that place is protected by a level A mutant, and anyone who dares to disturb the doctor will suffer death. Hearing all this, Chin looks at Liu Feng differently, thinking that he might help her get her revenge. When night falls, our hero is in his cabin, saying that he didn't expect that after so much delay with the doctor, the market would simply be closed. Even so, he has to do tomorrow's task first, and this time he will be responsible for Kelly and Lin Xin, while Long Xuan will guard the house. The main task is to find the main technology. At this point, it was already time. The MC had to level up some attributes. There were a lot of things that could change. Liu Feng thinks that martial arts are quite cheap to upgrade, so he will improve his martial kung fu because it will be much better for him in the future. With that robotic left hand could be used with 2 weapons at the same time. The boy was shining everywhere, and the glove had even changed shape. The kid is getting more and more impressive. Taking advantage of having a few more points, he also buys a weapon thinking that Lin Xin would be happy about it. Suddenly, the Blessed One appears, and Liu Feng says he has a gift for her, and the girl immediately gets happy, thanking him in a very different way. Liu Feng tries to stop her, saying that Kelly was still outside, but for the girl, that makes no difference. But then the worst part is that she appears in the corner asking who Liu Feng was talking to. Oh no, the situation has turned against him. The protagonist thinks that if he gets caught, it will be a huge mess, and then, out of nowhere, he pulls out a cloak. Entering the tent, he asks what she was doing on such a hot day, and Liu Feng replies that he was just meditating a bit. The girl isn't foolish and notices that something is wrong, asking if he is really okay, and the protagonist says he is great. Little did she know that there was literally another person inside that cloak. Our hero thought he had finally gotten out of that situation, but there was something he still couldn't forget. That feeling that was pressing him was literally very good. Then the girl goes on the attack, and Liu Feng, not being foolish or anything, can't even control it. At that moment, Lin Xin says that Liu Feng is being very bold and doing all this in a completely inappropriate situation. Obviously, this is very exciting, and Kelly, watching the protagonist, doesn't understand anything about that conversation. Still, it doesn't matter, and she heads towards the computer. However, Liu Feng thinks that if she reaches that place, she will probably find them. He had to find a way to resolve this, and suddenly, he spins his body like a Beyblade. Kelly was still a bit suspicious, asking how he did that. The kid hadn't said a word, and luckily, Kelly just ignores it, telling him to rest early because there's a new mission tomorrow. Then Liu Feng says that she finally left and tries to take off the hood, but Lin Xin seizes the opportunity, asking if they should start right there. The boy, however, says that he has a lot to do tomorrow, so there's no time for anything, and the meat only falls on a vegan plate. The next day, a soldier says that the meeting had been completed, and Chu tells him to hurry because they will arrive there soon. Suddenly, someone calls for the soldier, and it's our hero asking why he is in that place. Then Chu greets him, saying he didn't expect the Mutant Association to send him to help, and our boy says he is now a member of theirs. Suddenly, someone calls him, and it's the doctor saying she is there to find medicine in the city. However, looking at her body again, it seems that it won't work if she continues like that. Soon after, Lin Xin asks who that woman is. Oh no, the trouble is about to start again. It had been a few days since they had seen him, but he had already found another girl. So the two introduce themselves, and there's that usual little fight of the day. Kelly was just watching everything from the background, and Chu says it's time for the pre-war briefing. Inside the barracks, there were a lot of people, and he still didn't understand why it hadn't started yet. At that moment, Chu appears saying he will discuss the next mission. This time the task is to investigate the city of Xin'an, and the garrison in the city lost contact 2 days ago. Their objective is to investigate the reasons for their loss. This time, the investigation mission is to ask bounty hunters, and the military called 3 of their soldiers to help, so they shouldn't waste time and set off for the mission. A little later, in the city of Xin'an, Chu's entire fleet was already there. The guy's really tough. He was taking care of everything alone. Meanwhile, Liu Feng was looking around, and it was strange because not a single zombie had appeared yet. There were no bloodstains and not even a little body around. With that, the group starts entering the houses to see if they could find at least something. Suddenly, someone tells them to stop. warning that mutants shouldn't be in the way, so they have to leave. After that, the guy in the hat continues to walk through the area and suddenly encounters a very different mutant. Then the guy was in shock, asking what that was, but then the creature reaches out to the girl who was there beside him. In this, the guy with the hat shoots at the mutant, but the body regenerates too quickly. The head was simply growing back onto the body. Meanwhile, the MC and Lin Shin were watching this, and the girl says that this type of zombie is different from what they had seen before. The guy with the hat was still trying to shoot the mutant and then ends up getting caught by it. Just when he was about to go down, the MC appears there to save him. At this point, he is surprised because he had cut off the monster's head, yet it was still alive. He wonders how many people in that city had been eaten by them. Basically, it's going to be pretty hard to deal with him, and soon after, Lin Shin appears to help as well. Everyone there joined together to beat him, and the guy with the hat says that the mutant is nothing special. However, he then eats his words because the creature was still alive. Suddenly, Liu Feng hears something asking if something is wrong, but then he sees that more of those different mutants had appeared. Observing the situation, Chu says that they are all abnormal zombies, but they still have to finish the task first. Liu Feng also responds that firearms are useless, and everyone should move toward the barracks because there are heavier weapons there. It's not good to stay there for too long, asking Lin Shin to use an invisibility cloak to protect the doctor, and if they find the arsenal, they should send him a message. With Lin Shin following orders, Liu Feng charges at the mutants and definitely cannot take any hits from them. Swinging his sword, he had already taken one. The other one next to him is incinerated, and the onlookers watching from afar realize that our hero is indeed quite powerful. But then things get worse, and suddenly Kelly calls for him. The girl had simply been captured by another mutant, and the soldiers just look on, asking what that was. That creature can also fly, but then out of nowhere, the guy goes down. The creature shows no mercy, and the worst part is that a few more of them had already appeared. The onlookers had no choice but to shoot, but it didn't make much difference. Every time they were stalling there, more creatures appeared, and the protagonist was still holding on just with sword strikes. From a distance, he spots his target, and poor Kelly was still with the mutant. However, Liu Feng shoots some arrows, injuring it further. It wasn't enough to finish it off, and Kelly realizes she will end up being taken to the nest if this continues. Then she pulls out a weapon, saying she can't be killed either. Man, in that moment she was clever, but she forgot she was in the air. Luckily, Liu Feng was nearby and used his iron arm to save her. With a tense atmosphere, the two start to face each other while being thrown toward a clock. Inside the place, Kelly was on top of him. Looking up, Liu Feng notices there's a bell that starts ringing and suddenly falls. The worst part is that they both end up inside, and Kelly says he saved her again, asking if he is aware of what she was thinking when she was captured just a little while ago. In the end, she thought she was going to die, and she is also a human being. And even though she seems very calm on the surface, at night she can only sleep in his clothes. Then Liu Feng, hearing this, remembers the system because he had said that Kelly had that kind of fetish. For the girl, it doesn't matter how strong she is on the surface because she can't face death calmly, and since her complaints haven't been reported, she isn't willing to die in the last days. Hearing this, Liu Feng just stares and comforts her. Suddenly the air changes, and Kelly says he has always been very kind and thinks they should talk about some other matters if he understands her. Then she goes on the attack, asking if he is afraid of that. Liu Feng, however, says he is afraid that she won't be able to handle it. A little later, Lin Shin was looking at a tower, saying that the bell had been ringing for a few hours, asking if she wasn't afraid of attracting some zombies with that. Ignoring everything she said, the doctor just hands over a cap, and meanwhile, that bell was ringing all the time, and you already know the reason, right? The next day, our boy was waking up shirtless, thinking that fate is hard to learn in just one night. A lot happened last night, and the kid can't forget. A little later, the MC had made coffee. Kelly was still getting up, and Liu Feng was just staring. In that moment, she asked what he was doing, and then he asked why she had fallen in love with him. But then she got closer, saying he needed to tone it down. Just because of all the commitments he had, a bunch of girls would go crazy for him. Even though he had drained her energy, the boy was willing to travel many miles to save. Hearing all that, Liu Feng fell silent, thinking that for the first time, he wanted to protect that woman. It seemed he would have to take some precautions regarding all this, and suddenly, the system appeared because Lin Shin was calling. She said she had found the barn and the side quest was already complete. Our boy was super happy, saying he would send her to the clock tower seat and also needed to see her later. Hearing the conversation, Kelly took the opportunity to ask if he had slept with Lin Shin last night. If he thought he could pull a fast one on her, he was wrong, and now the MC had no excuses left to make. On the other side of the city, that guy in the hat was still shooting at a bunch of zombies. He hadn't given up yet. Then he entered another room, thinking he was alone, but suddenly someone called him. The girl sitting in the chair asked if a handsome guy like him had shown up there. He really hit the jackpot. Getting a little closer, the poor guy thought he was in heaven. But then, life is cruel, right? What can you do? It was literally just another mutant. The poor guy passed away, but at least he died happy. Inside the barn, a bunch of zombies had already appeared, and Lin Xin said it was all her fault. All because she wanted to grab a first aid kit. But Qin said the kids needed those medicines. Soon after, she found the blessed kit. Meanwhile, Lin Xin was taking down everyone. Leaving the place, the two found an alley and went inside. Man, I never get tired of thinking this drawing is very disproportionate. On the other side, in the research room, our boy was just observing, and there were a lot of zombies right in front of him. The kid was still looking for a way to solve all this, and then he found a fire extinguisher. Grabbing the extinguisher, he did something and threw the cart on top of the zombies. The creatures were all electrocuted, and the boy seemed to have figured something out. In that moment, Kelly found a scanner and using it, said that the nanocore technology was inside. However, when she looked to the side, she found a giant mutant. It was hard to tell what that thing was, and Kelly asked why that was in the nanotechnology lab. Then Liu Feng said it was all right because it seemed to be sleeping and they just had to stay quiet. But suddenly, the creature let out a loud scream, and now there was no other way. The mutant charged at them, and the protagonist picked Kelly up, thinking that it seemed like the power was at least rank S, and he couldn't handle all this. Also, because it was literally the first time he was fighting such a strong creature. The creature continued to stare at the MC, and suddenly he felt something. He dropped the sword, and then the system warned that the zombie had used an ability that prevented him from using his hands, leaving him no choice but to use his feet. Thinking he didn't expect mutants of this level to have abilities of this caliber, the MC looked at the monster, glared, and launched some goo at it. The kid couldn't even use his hands. And on the other side of the building, Lin Xin was still with the doctor, trapped in the alley. The zombies were in the background just watching. Man, that scene was a bit forbidden. The worst part was that the two couldn't do anything, let alone move. However, Lin Xin found a way, shooting at everyone, and the doctor was scared to death, but Lin Xin said it was all right. Leaving the alley, Qin said she had to use the terrain to kill the zombies. Looking at the girl's hand, she noticed it was injured, saying she had to amputate the limbs quickly, or else she would get infected. However, for Lin Xin, it was all right because she had already been vaccinated. A little later, the girl explained everything to the doctor, saying that her refuge didn't have a very safe environment and even less food, but at least it had the vaccine against the virus. Surprised, Qin asks if they can really produce a vaccine because the science department heard it was in development. And if Liu Feng is the leader of all this, it's quite impressive. Then she assumes that if she joined them, she could resolve the situation with the children. Suddenly, another person appears, and Lin Xin was already aware. However, Qin asks her to wait, and boy, it's that mutant from before, seeing that this won't end well. But then Lin Xin suddenly shoots at her, and Qin asks why she killed the woman out of nowhere. However, she saw the reason. Son, the mutant was right in front of her. On the other side of the building, the MC was still fighting the giant mutant. The creature was still intact, and Liu Feng says that even if he couldn't lift his hand, the glove could be controlled by a chip. Throwing it, she hits one of the zombies' heads, and when she goes for him, the mutant protects the other head. Then the protagonist realizes what the weak point was and charges at him once again. However, now it was him who was in trouble because the gloves were out of energy. But then Kelly says there's another way. She can still move her hands, but to do that, she will have to believe in her. In that, she will have to wait for the right moment because she will solve this problem. Hearing this, Liu Feng asks if she isn't going to die, and charging at him, he says he will win. Then the mutant grabs the protagonist's hand, but he manages to break free by slashing at him with a sword. The fight was raging there, and Kelly just observes, firing a shot that hits him squarely in the eye. With that, the MC can now use his hands, returning to the fight 100%. On the other side of the barn, the doctor was facing that mutant from before. The creature was starving, but then Lin Xin appears. Using Qin as a shield, she shoots at the mutant, but it doesn't seem to have worked very well. The creature was still alive, but then suddenly something comes out from inside it. Boy, a baby was inside, and Lin Xin points the gun at him. A little later, outside the warehouse, the doctor was looking at a cross, saying he has to reincarnate in his next life as a normal child. Then she wonders if this is perhaps the fate of all children in this world. Next, Lin Xin appears, saying she was still feeling sentimental. Changing the subject, Qin says she wanted to enter their base, but Lin Xin says they can't come and go casually. However, she doesn't care, telling her to take her quickly because Liu Feng promised her. Suddenly, the girl feels something, and using an invisibility cloak, when she looks up, she realizes someone was watching them. On the other side of the city, the MC was taking down all the zombies. However, that many zombies don't seem to end, and there's even one that looks like a caterpillar man. Suddenly, the system appears, saying there's a natural disaster nearby, so they have to get out of there quickly. With that, someone defeats that caterpillar, and Liu Feng doesn't understand what just happened. Then a woman appears, and she's a so-called Scarlet Queen named Lin Han. The funniest part is that Liu Feng called her Aunt Li, and Kelly, seeing everything, wonders if she's Liu Feng's neighbor. To have defeated this monster so easily, she must be quite strong. The woman extends her hand, and suddenly she stretches, seeming to suck the energy from the mutant. Seeing that, the protagonist freezes immediately, and the girl was enjoying it. Soon after, Liu Feng asks her not to move because now he has to pray for that woman to remember him. Lin Han, meanwhile, just stares at the protagonist and then grabs him. Getting closer, our boy thought it was his end, but she just hugged him. He was trying to understand what was happening, and suddenly the woman goes for Kelly too. Liu Feng thinks he has to do something to end this mess. Then out of nowhere, he kisses the woman. The funniest part is that she stopped too, and Liu Feng asks her to remember him. Lin Han scratches his face, and then the system alerts that his blood is being absorbed by the Scarlet Queen. So it will know his position anywhere he goes in the future. Seeing what was happening, Liu Feng wants to know why she is doing all this. At this moment, until now, Kelly was just observing. With Lin Han leaving, Kelly wonders how she could have let other women take her man, and I can already see there will be couple fights. Looking back, Lin Han smiles, and Liu Feng thinks that at least she hasn't forgotten him. A few minutes later, at the Chungbei Research Institute, someone mentions that something has happened. There is a huge energy in the city of Xin'an that was under analysis. It seems to be the Scarlet Queen, who is the #1 mutant who was in the city center after waking up. After being born, she killed a bunch of zombies, annihilating siege troops at her research institute, and the most horrifying part is that she was created by them alone and still has enmity. However, an old man says that none of this matters because he feels that someone was secretly sabotaging their things. Even with all this, they must continue searching for the nanonucleus, avoiding contact with the Blood Queen. She also needs to discover the force that was delaying them. Then the girl says she will ensure that her task is already complete. The other guy asks if they need to worry about the city of Xinyang, but the old man says it has nothing to do with them and should just let the actress maid do as she pleases. After all, he discovered some information about the nanonucleus technology. And Kelly, in the meantime, says that the nanocore research project was transported to the city center 3 days ago. In all research institutes, whenever there is a problem, it will transport the project to a closer institute, and the map shows that the nanonucleus was sent to the Fred Institute. Suddenly, Kelly notices something and, pressing a button, the system announces that the fusion virus escaped from the laboratory had been eliminated. Then Chin appears, saying that this is the sample of the virus that made the city so strange. Our boy is happy that everyone is okay, and the doctor thanks him for sending Lin Xin to save. With that, she can leave the rest to her, because she will talk about this virus. She didn't expect to find a laboratory like this under the city still studying this virus, and since it is a byproduct of the nanocore project, the robots can be used to introduce the virus. Changing the subject, she also wants to know one more thing, saying that she is the famous Kelly, asking if this research institute happens to be hers. Then she says yes, but it is obvious that she didn't know the mess it would cause when she started this project. At this point, Chin asks if she knows anyone from her family who had placed in the company who probably knew Zheng Qiansheng. She only has money, and the world invests in high-quality assets. But even with all this, she is just a technology company instead of an investment company. After all, she had worked at a research institute where she invested, where they saw people designated by her family colluding with this Zheng Qianxiang. Still, the fusion virus continues to work, and it can even create a serum that removes part of the mutant virus and may be able to delay her sister's symptoms. Then the MC is happy, saying that now she has joined his refuge. However, she tells him not to rush because she heard that his refuge is huge, asking if there is any vaccine for the zombie virus. On the other side of the city, Shu and his soldiers were trying to deal with a bunch of zombies. This seems endless, and the soldier tells them to hold the ground to expel them. However, it was too difficult, and Shu wanted to know what the problem was and why the monsters there are different from those outside. Picking up a grenade, he throws it at that pile of zombies, and after the explosion, more mutants appear. Suddenly, an explosion happens, and poor Shu is thrown away. With the front line breaking, the mutants advance further. In the boy's mind, he thought he was going to die, but then out of nowhere, the protagonist appears to finish everything. Seeing the situation, Liu Feng asks if he is okay, and the guy replies that he is, thanking him for showing up once again. The MC doesn't have time to talk and goes after other mutants, but his sword ends up breaking. Then the scene shifts to 10 minutes earlier in the barn, where Liu Feng was using his ability to gather all the food to take back to the base. The other girl says she had just received all the food, and Liu Feng says he will take some people back to the base tomorrow. Seeing what happened, Chin is surprised, asking what technology this is that can send things far away, and Liu Feng says it is just a small piece of equipment from the shelter. Suddenly, Lin Xin grabs Liu Feng in her arms, saying there are a lot of faithful followers in her refuge. Then she whispers in Liu Feng's ear that the woman is only interested in his base, so he has to leave her there. At that moment, Kelly appears, saying she found another nanotechnology product at the research institute, and he needs to see if it can be useful. Back in the present, Liu Feng was using a brass knuckles or whatever that is. Charging at the mutant, he lands a punch, and wow, the guy exploded quickly. The soldiers who were still alive freeze instantly with the power they had witnessed. Then they realized that the kid is really something else. Half an hour later, the entire squad had returned to base. Thanks to Liu Feng's help, they secured 2 warehouses of food and discovered the situation in the city of Xinyang. Liu Feng was just listening to the conversation, remembering Kelly saying that it's necessary to leave 2 carts of food for the military because selling that kind of favor will make it easier to do business. Suddenly the boy looks to the side and comes across his ex, who is still alive. The next day the protagonist was at the market where workers are bought. Qin was also there with him, and introducing the man, he says, "This is Chief Zhang, the biggest worker merchant in the north of the city." Just by looking at the man's face, you can tell he is an aristocrat. Getting closer, the boy asks him not to worry, because with Dr. Qin, he will definitely get a bonus. Pointing to the side, he shows the products, and Liu Feng, seeing what it was, freezes instantly. Then the seller says that this is basically a man's dream. After all, the 2 are female stars. Both look at Liu Feng with a pitiful gaze, and the seller says that the twin stars are not cheap. However, Liu Feng asks who he thinks he is. Did he think he couldn't walk with a beautiful woman and then fell into his trap? Hearing this, the old man can't believe it because there really is a man in the world who sees beautiful women and still manages to keep his senses. Meanwhile, the protagonist even had a runny nose, asking if he thought he was looking for him just to buy beautiful women. Suddenly, Kelly gets out of the car and the man immediately recognizes who she is because she is basically one of the 10 richest people in the world. So it's no surprise that the MC didn't fall into his trap. Soon after, Kelly says that those girls are still not that useless. At this, Liu Feng asks if they would be willing to join his refuge. Analyzing their statistics, they were pretty average, but even the system said they have an inexplicable beauty. The idiot Liu Feng doesn't believe it, and the system asks if he was doubting its detection mechanism. At this, the MC asks to call all the people he has. A little later, all the workers were already there. Half an hour later, our boy was analyzing all of them, and there were various professions, from hackers to mechanics and many others. The funniest part is that he said he wanted all those people. The old man says that if that's the case, he will give him a discount, where it will be 200 cans or 30 magazines. Then Liu Feng says he will leave the rest in Kelly's hands, starting to walk away. A little later, the protagonist was taking that bunch of people on the bus, and as he got off, he said they were in the right place. He will currently be their leader and will take everyone to his base, promising that they will be safe, and now they should form a line to enter the portal so everyone can go home. At this, Liu Feng goes down the stairs, and suddenly the vice president calls him, saying she has something for him. The MC didn't see she was there and immediately gets nervous, and then she says she heard his knife was broken, and that's why she brought him his famous clan sword. This is the famous demonic katana Yokichi, and she will give it to the boy as his first mission to unite the association's meeting ceremony. Then our boy draws the katana from its sheath, realizing it was indeed very good. The vice president, handing over her identification, says that once everything is complete, they have to go to the association because the president wants to see him. Liu Feng thanks her and tells everyone to line up quickly. On the other side of the portal, the MC had arrived with his companions, the other workers too, and Liu Feng welcomes them to his refuge. That's why the system alerts that the number of members in the base has exceeded 100 and the title has been updated to level 3. With this, it is able to unlock the weapon factory. It costs 160 points to be built, and Liu Feng, without wasting time, simply agrees. Meanwhile, the people there were surprised by how technological the protagonist's base was. Liu Feng asks to rest because they will talk about the rest later. A little later, our boy was lying on the bed, thinking that a lot had happened, but now he would finally rest, and tomorrow, he would have to make the next plan. Suddenly, Sarah appears and lies down on the bed too. Oh, I've seen this story before. Liu Feng was pretending to be oblivious, not moving a muscle. Then the girl asks if he went to bed too early. Grabbing the blanket, she says she was there to report some things to him. Liu Feng asks what she was trying to do, and Sarah says that the director has always admired him since she was saved. However, she is not like Lin Xin and only has the opportunity to express her love when he returns to the base to rest. At this, Liu Feng, seeing what is happening, thinks that he can't stand to see a woman cry and then ends up accepting the service he is going to have, right? But it's obvious that he won't give up so easily. After all, he shouldn't underestimate his boss. Holding the girl's chin, he says that she is quite brave and then kisses her. At this point, you know what's happening there that can't be shown, right? Then our boy says he will do some extra hours with her. Suddenly, this so-called action, which has nothing to do with actions, starts to rise. It rose so much that the crazy girl couldn't take it anymore. A little later, the MC had eased up a bit. In his mind, he is amazing, and meanwhile, Lin Xin was just watching from the corner. After a while, Liu Feng went to take a shower to rest a bit, but then out of nowhere, Lin Xin appears with a bucket in hand. Noticing that someone is there, our boy immobilizes her but realizes it was the girl. The two stare at each other, and Liu Feng asks why she attacked him. But then she tries to hit the protagonist again, saying that he got involved with other girls behind her back once again. At this, our hero freezes because if he does anything wrong, he will lose all of them. However, suddenly, the little system says that Lin Xin's hobby has come into effect, and Liu Feng, understanding what happened, asks if she is mad because he didn't call her earlier. Then the girl gets nervous, just showing that the MC was indeed right. Meanwhile, he starts imagining some interesting possibilities, saying that next time he will call her. At this point, Liu Feng's sister and Xing Xing appear. Our boy freezes immediately and pushes Lin Xin underwater. His sister hugs him, and Xing Xing says she wasn't missing him. Meanwhile, poor Lin Xin was submerged, and suddenly the MC feels something. You know what's going on there, and Liu Feng thinks he can't handle all this. Oh boy, the kid is suffering. The two girls there don't understand why the boy is acting that way but start brushing him. Poor Liu Feng was at his limit and lets everything out right there. Next, the scene shifts to Kelly, who had dropped her cup, saying it's quite strange because she felt that something different happened just a little while ago. Back in the bathroom, the MC was still playing with the girls. I at least hope nothing crazy happens now. But then I spoke too soon. Lin Xin appeared in the water again, and Xing Xing, seeing that, couldn't believe it could be that. However, in the end, it's nothing serious. The poor girl just thought she was there to help Liu Feng clean up. Meanwhile, the girl hadn't said a single word because she still had the protagonist's treasure in her mouth. Suddenly, Xin Tong bumps into her. The poor girl couldn't take it anymore, and Liu Feng was begging her to swallow it quickly. The kid really has no shame. At this point, a day passes, and Qin says she can't believe how big the boy's base is. Right after, the extra says that the medical room is in that hall. Entering there, Qin says it's huge, and Liu Feng says that the medical room is divided into two with beds and a research room in the back, and all are empty. But further ahead, there is the research room also operated by AI, and the doctor says it is much more advanced than the facilities in Chengbei. In this, our boy asks if she thinks the shelter environment is good because he could take his children and let them study there since he wants to create a school in the refuge. Soon after, the guy who was accompanying them says he will go out to check the power supply. Looking at him, Liu Feng says that this man is responsible for repairing the circuits, but suddenly Qin kisses him. The MC asks what she was doing, but then the doctor ends up tripping. To make matters worse, the guy appears again and freezes instantly just seeing that scene from behind the curtain. The poor guy looks like he has never seen this, but meanwhile, Liu Feng was just helping Qin get up. Asking her to sit down, the extra continues to observe everything. For him, it is impossible to do this kind of thing in broad daylight. Looking again at the curtain, something strange was happening. Even I am starting to suspect. However, nothing significant was happening, and the doctor begins to talk about the protagonist's sister's illness. By chance, he has a microscope, so they will take a look at this fusion virus. Meanwhile, the old man was feeling down because the protagonist already has a bunch of women while he hasn't gotten anyone. Soon after, the girl asks Liu Feng to take a closer look, and suddenly the extra appears saying that the boy cannot fall into this genjutsu. Seeing behind the curtains, he thinks it is getting more and more exciting, but who wouldn't think that? Just look at how the shadows are behind the curtain. In this, the poor guy can't take it anymore and passes away. Lovers are the most detestable thing in the world. Suddenly someone calls him, and the gasping one asks if he is okay, and then the guy changes his mind, right? The girl says that one of her tools was broken and wanted him to fix it, and the guy says he can take care of that. On the other side of the hall, the doctor says she will conduct the reverse research. But before everything, she needs to make a deal with the MC. He helped her take the children from the clinic to her base, so she should be allowed to use her research room to help him create an inhibitor serum. Hearing this, Liu Feng asks if she was hesitant to join the shelter, and the girl apologizes because she cannot participate at the moment. But there is something she wants to do. In this, Liu Feng says that anything can help, and suddenly the system appears notifying that after the construction of the weapon factory, the refuge can be upgraded to level 3. A few minutes later, our boy was finally seeing how the weapon factory had turned out. The machines were running at full steam. Everyone there was surprised because a lot of weapons were being produced. Lin Xin, analyzing the equipment, says they have quite interesting quality, and the Purple Eagle asks if there are other types of weapons that can be made. In this, Kelly says that currently, first-level weapons can manufacture these types of weapons and support ammunition. Therefore, there is no problem in building a lot of weapons and placing them in the shelter. Hearing this, Liu Feng says that if that's the case, it's much better to create a shooting range to train the soldiers of the base, so he will let her take care of everything else. At that moment, the system appears saying that the secondary facilities of the refuge are complete, asking if it should upgrade to tertiary refuge. Our boy, not being an idiot, says yes, ordering the construction of a shooting range and upgrading the refuge by 3 levels. With everything resolved, now they have to go to the city center, and they will have a meeting tomorrow to discuss everything. A little later, Liu Feng was at a bar, and the girls there called him to drink a little. Liu Feng, meanwhile, didn't move a muscle, thinking that he definitely couldn't handle both of them. After all, they were objects of his amusement when he was younger, but now they were right in front of him. The two continue looking at the protagonist, who, in the meantime, was trembling with nervousness. Suddenly, the system appears saying he gained 1 more reputation point, and after reaching prestige level 30, the opening of something called Rodang will increase his prestige. In this, the boy gets a burst of energy and sits at the table, gaining 2 more reputation points. Thinking that he heard that celebrities in the apocalyptic world can only survive by using their bodies, he assumes he must also take that first step. Shortly after, the girl asks what our hero wants to drink, and then the boy suddenly says he wants to drink milk. The two are shocked by what they just heard because it completely exceeded their expectations. Soon after, Xing hands over the cup, saying that Liu Feng has always liked his mother's milk. Oh, what an idea is that? Then the two, hearing this, think the wrong thing, and it's hard not to think that way, right? The mysterious system notifies that he gained more reputation, and the boy doesn't understand why since he did nothing. Seeing the situation, he thinks he has to do something to break the ice. Calling the two, they immediately think that the MC wanted to do something naughty with them. The boy, however, just says hello, and at that, they get up, leaving Liu Feng alone at the table. The poor guy was completely rejected just for saying hi to them. A few minutes later, in the general command room, they were gathered to welcome Liu Feng. At this point, he says they don't need to be so formal, and Kelly asks him to sit down since the meeting is about to start. Now that the weapon problem has been resolved, he wants to form a guard team at the base with at least 30 soldiers. Not long ago, 2 forces emerged nearby, the Salvation Army and the God Unit. Liu Feng asks what kind of force that is, and Kelly says one of them is the Gumi Church, which recently expanded in the southern part of the city. The other group is known as the National Salvation Army, which was a camp built by a group of vandals with at least 200 people. Hearing this, Lin Xin laughs, saying that this so-called Salvation Army is more like a refugee camp formed by a group of farmers. After all, they are nothing special. At this point, our hero asks Xintong to call that woman. Then that priestess appears again. Lin Xin asks what she knows and what the origin of the Gumi Church is. The girl says that the sect was established before the end of the world and is known for saving sentient beings, and now it has a lot of people in it. It is managed every day by several bishops, and there are 8 stronger subordinates, and she is number 8. While Liu Feng had defeated number 7. Liu Feng asks if these zombies are mass-produced by their leader, and she replies that all the eggs of mutant zombies are provided by the bishop. As for their leader, she was still hesitant to say. At this point, Xintong tells her to stop joking, and the priestess says that even though she has never seen the leader, according to her speculation, he is not human. Liu Feng asks if this is true, and also wants to know about the apostle she mentioned earlier. Then the priestess says she can recognize him and it is very likely that he has already entered the city. Hearing this, the protagonist says that if that's the case, the next time he acts, he should follow him. Changing the subject, he says they should move on because they don't need to get into a fight with this guy right now, and first, they will train their guards. First, each one will take a team of people, with Lin Xin going to the supermarket, Long Xuan to the sewage station, and he personally going to the oil depot. After this boring conversation, Liu Feng asks to move on to the next topic. Kelly tells him to go to the research institute in the city center to find the nano-core and uncover Tianxiang's conspiracy. However, there are millions of zombies in the city center, and it's almost impossible to get there alone. At this point, Lin Xin asks what they should do, and Kelly says she really has no brains, and Liu Feng has already figured out a solution. Lin Xin gets a bit nervous, but then the old man stands up, saying he will explain. While waiting for his lady in the capital, he received news that many soldiers were about to explore the city center. Kelly says that even though she didn't know what the soldiers were going to do, they had already started recruiting hunters, so she suggested that Liu Feng get involved with the military, saving them many times. He performed this task excellently, gaining the soldiers' trust easily, asking if she wasn't right. Our boy suddenly gives a strange smile, saying that she could see everything and it seems she couldn't hide well enough. Hearing all that conversation, the Purple Eagle is surprised, thinking that Liu Feng is really something else. Soon after, the MC says they will do this tomorrow and will clear the forts around, and the next time he enters the city, he will go to its center to recruit the military. Sometime later, the meeting finally ended, and Liu Feng was trembling with fear beforehand. He basically devised a strategy without saying anything. After that, 3 days passed, and Liu Feng was watching a movie on TV. Even in an apocalyptic world, the kid was at least enjoying life a little. He says that even if it were before the end of the world, he definitely wouldn't be able to have this quality of life. Suddenly the system appears, saying that 2 people want to enter his room, asking if he will allow it. Liu Feng assumes it was those 2 girls from the bar earlier, thinking they also wanted to watch a movie. Letting them in, oh boy, they were dressed as bunnies, saying they were there as the director requested earlier. Sitting on the couch, our boy, unfortunately, had no way out, asking what all this was. The girl with blue hair says it was he who called them, and they are fulfilling the contract, while Liu Feng thinks they misunderstood everything. However, it is already too late, and the 2 throw him onto the couch. At that moment, the kid starts hallucinating, saying there are 2 soul-sucking spirits in front of him. Cutting at them with his sword, the 2 say that common attacks won't work. As the protagonist attacks back, he thinks this is too much, but he can't be defeated now. However, he falls to the ground, wondering how he can defeat them, but then looking to the side, he finds the well from which they came. Heading towards it, Liu Feng attacks the well. I don't understand anything anymore. A bunch of smoke comes out, and the protagonist says he has mastered their weakness. The kid literally sat by the well, saying that it is the source of their strength. Moving while sitting, the 2 seem to be feeling something, begging him not to move because they surrendered. However, Liu Feng activates his special, spinning in the well like a Beyblade. This is going too far. Thus, the 2 were finally defeated. After that little breeze a moment ago, the MC had finally finished having fun. He says this is incredible because he feels completely revitalized and has fulfilled his childhood dream. One day later, our hero was gathered with the group, saying they would now go to the oil depot. Inside the oil place, Kelly says there are a lot of lost houses and at least 300 resource points after the occupation. Hearing this, Liu Feng just remains silent. One day before all this, Kelly was training at the shooting range. Our boy arrives at the place, surprised that she is still training at this hour. At that moment, the girl says that the apocalypse is very dangerous, where there are a lot of zombies, hunger, and destruction. Hiding inside the base won't solve anything at all. Returning to the present, Liu Feng thinks that she is definitely a strong person and is not willing to be inferior to others at any moment. Soon after, Kelly calls for the protagonist, saying that later she will want to join the zombie cleanup. At that moment, everything was ready, and the target would be the oil plant. Their objective is to clear the zombies in the oil depot, but they cannot use firearms to avoid any kind of explosion. The satellite base detected zombies at the refinery, and even though there aren't many, it's likely there won't be any sudden zombies, so the mission will be quite easy. All of this, as long as the zombies are brought in little by little. Then the other character asks who will be the person to lead all this. Suddenly the 2 start staring at the man, and he quickly gets the idea of who it would be. A few minutes later, the guy was scared out of his mind because he was literally running from a bunch of zombies. To make matters worse, the kid slips, but then the MC appears to take care of everything. Kelly was also there to help, and even without a weapon, she was quite useful. Launching a forbidden strike at the zombie, the MC and the other guy even felt sorry for him. Meanwhile, Kelly thinks she needs electric gold. Before the end of the world, she had built a business empire and can do the same after the end of the world. After all of this is just beginning now. There are zombies everywhere, and they still keep coming. While defeating some zombies, she supposes this is how Liu Feng feels when facing them. This guy would literally lead the front line all day. Wondering if he has always endured so much, after all, it is something incredible. Because of this, he cannot lose, and out of nowhere, he uses an explosive arrow towards the zombie. However, suddenly a giant zombie appears, and it's one of those poisonous ones. A guy that no one had ever seen before, but then the MC shows up to resolve everything, telling her not to worry because he will protect her. Imbuing his sword with a flame, he calmly incinerates the mutant. Our boy then looks at his weapon thinking it is as valuable as a level A weapon. Seeing what happened, Kelly can't believe it was resolved so easily. Basically, it's impossible to catch up to this guy. 10 minutes later, the zombies were almost finished, and that extra from before was fiddling with some wires. Soon after, he manages to open the door and, without wasting time, everyone goes in. Changing the subject, Liu Feng asks her how it is to kill a zombie. Kelly replies that it is much harder than she thought and that she will also get stronger gradually. Hearing this, Liu Feng can't believe it, thinking she is already incredibly strong. Suddenly, someone starts speaking over the loudspeaker, begging for someone to rescue them in the main control room. At that moment, the system appears, providing all the information the boy needs about the building. The protagonist, however, says that something was wrong with the sound he was hearing up there. Looking to the side, he comes across a human who had been devoured by a zombie, and yet this was quite strange. Apparently it could have been from a zombie he had never seen, and soon after, he tells everyone to pay attention because there might be mutant zombies there. A little later, on the next floor, that person on the loudspeaker says they have finally arrived. There are a bunch of zombies on the 5th floor, and they also need to be careful. After a few minutes, they finally reach the top floor, and Kelly wonders if she is still behind Lu Feng. After so many battles, she has been training for a long time and is almost reaching her limit. However, she cannot give up because only those with power can live, and it is obvious that she will not fall behind the boy. The MC says that this is great, and in the meantime, the extra was just feeling envious. Then they open the door to the 5th floor and the place is completely dark. The two enter on alert, and the other guy is still angry. Suddenly, something brushes against him, and the guy, thinking it was Lu Feng, tells him not to touch him because he won't join him. Our hero, however, asks what he is talking about. Then the man looks to the side, sees a giant zombie, and freezes immediately. Without wasting time, Kelly shoots an arrow at the monster, but it has no effect. The poor guy in the corner is being suffocated, and then the mutant grabs Kelly too. Only the protagonist is free, thinking that these monsters are forcing him to choose someone. Suddenly, a third mutant appears behind, but Liu Feng manages to handle it, thinking that swords should be enough. However, since life isn't easy, the mutants start fleeing in different directions, forcing our boy to save just one. Meanwhile, Kelly was reflecting, thinking that it was 4 years ago. The girl with purple hair says that her company's funding is broken and they made a condition for her to get it, and if she doesn't accept, she won't be able to withstand bankruptcy. Suddenly, an old man appears, asking if this isn't the famous Kelly. The girl asks what Mr. Luo is doing there, telling him not to be so rude because he only came to this place to show a path to survival. If he were her lover, he could very well lend her money to settle her debts. Back in the present, Kelly is still trapped in the hands of that mutant, but suddenly she manages to escape by kicking him, thinking she did it just like the last time she had smashed the old man's face. Soon after, the MC appears, saying he didn't expect her to have such an explosive side. Kelly asks what's wrong and if he is afraid to see her angry. However, the MC just smiles, saying that it has nothing to do with that. But the two don't have time to think because the mutant is still there. But who is there is obviously Liu Feng, and he defeats it easily, telling Kelly not to be afraid. Calling the girl's name, he asks her to be his woman. And when he kisses her, the girl says that the man who wants her has to be very powerful. Liu Feng feels all embarrassed by what he heard, but when he looks to the side, the extra from before has already gone to a better place. The voice on the loudspeaker starts speaking again, saying that the monster at their door is looking for them. It has social properties and a different intelligence. In a few seconds, he charges at the protagonist, who can barely see his movement but manages to dodge just in time. Thinking that the creature is really fast, he draws his sword, making a series of cuts on the mutant. The two were just watching, and Liu Feng asks to go to the main control room because he will handle this alone. Continuing to battle the monster, the kid is impressive. At that moment, an explosion occurs, and the bystander is surprised by how strong the movement was. Our boy just observes, and the battle continues. With Kelly alongside that guy heading towards the door, someone on the intercom is pleased because they finally arrive to help him. But then an explosion happens, and only Liu Feng is seen being thrown. In that moment, Kelly cushions him, asking if the boy is okay. Wanting to know what happened, Liu Feng says that something incredible occurred, because his gauntlet simply cannot damage him. Moreover, he can't use it at this moment either. Changing the subject, he asks how long it will take to open that door, and the guy replies that it will be about 3 minutes. Liu Feng thinks that he only punched that mutant, but it's already clear that he is quite strong, plus his sense of smell is excellent, and his kung fu skills won't hold him off for long. He really misses Long Xuan now because he needed a long-range aim to restrict the monster's movements. Suddenly, it charges towards the protagonist, who, pushing Kelly aside, takes the impact. In this, the wall breaks, and the creature continues to go after Liu Feng. Soon after, someone says they are already there, and looking back, Liu Feng sees that it was just a robot that thanks him for saving him. The two remain silent for a moment, and then the robot shakes at its base because the door was broken. Seeing what was happening, Liu Feng gets furious, asking who the hell it is. Then it says that it is an artificial intelligence for drilling oil wells, and its name is Xiao, an auxiliary programmer for drilling. However, Liu Feng was still angry because the robot tricked him just to get them there. But there is no time to think, and looking to the side, the mutant tries to strike him. Liu Feng still can't believe he couldn't even make a scratch on that creature. The main issue now is figuring out how to break through its defense, and then the robot suggests that they should team up. The little creature suddenly changes its face and then attaches itself to the protagonist's back. Taking the form of armor, it envelops the boy's entire body. The kid is increasingly losing his humanity. With this, the impressive MC becomes more confident, charging at the monster once again, Using that glove from before, he lands a punch on it. Man, even some red sparks fly out, and the creature is left battered. With the mutant on the ground, Liu Feng says it's good equipment, but is surprised that the creature is still not dead. But that little robot, summoning a weapon, tells him to leave the rest to it. Killing the zombie with a laser beam, it then says that this consumes a lot of energy and shuts down by itself. Meanwhile, Kelly and the guy were just watching, thinking that Liu Feng really got stronger again. Then the system appears again, saying that after he completes the oil mission, he has to finish the weekly task for the first time, and then the draw will be held only once. It also recommends that the boy discard that low-level artificial intelligence, and hearing this, Liu Feng stays alert, saying that she is probably jealous. Without wasting time, he uses the system to spin the roulette and see if he wins something. The kid wanted a construction skill, but since life isn't easy, he didn't succeed. Frustrated for coming so close, he asks the system what skill he just gained. It then says that it is a medicine that can only be produced by high-level bases and can give ordinary people a chance to awaken superpowers. The best part is that even if it doesn't work, there are no consequences. Hearing all this, Liu Feng says he has to put it in him right now since it's such a good thing. But looking to the side, he seems to have an idea. A little later, Kelly asks what he was talking about regarding this so-called mutant skill potion. After all, he had to use this medicine on himself, asking if it wouldn't be a waste to inject it into her. However, our hero says it's fine because he has superpowers, and the potion might not succeed. He also wants to know if she has ever dreamed of having powers. The girl ponders this, but suddenly says she can't move her body. A few minutes later, in the transfer room, Liu Feng asks where Dr. Chin was because Kelly fainted out of nowhere. Meanwhile, the boy was on cloud 9 thinking that Kelly is pressuring him because she can feel everything at this very moment. Soon after, he enters the doctor's office saying that Kelly fainted out of nowhere. Laying her on the bed, he asks to inject a potion to wake her up. However, the doctor asks to check her first, no matter what. 10 minutes later, Chin finishes saying that it's nothing serious and her condition is relatively stable. This is the first time she has seen other people waking up, and she is quite capable herself. Changing the subject, she suggests that the MC take her to his room to take care of her at night. After a while, the boy had already taken her there, asking her not to cause too many problems. That so-called Dr. Chin had said he has a lot of experience overall, but in reality, he has none of that because everything is just the power of the system. But even without any ability, he has something to say because Kelly's body is really quite interesting. The boy was even drooling, and suddenly the system appears saying that there is a chance Kelly's mutation might fail. Liu Feng freezes immediately, saying that he scared her, but the system says he is too noisy. The MC, however, was almost freaking out, saying that the next time he does that, he will kill him. And the system asks if he wants to execute a command that increases the chances of the mutation's success. Without wasting time, Liu Feng asks to do that, saying it's strange because normally he wouldn't see the system helping him so much. But then he realizes that he is feeling jealous. All of this because he had taken that little robot for himself. At this point, the system finally reveals the method to accelerate the girl's mutation. If he wants, he has to massage the blood circulation of the body to facilitate the absorption of mutations. Hearing this, Liu Feng already has other ideas about the location of this massage. Suddenly the system appears again, saying that if he doesn't accelerate Kelly, she might fail the mutation. Without wasting time, the boy starts doing that blessed massage. Then he remembers that this is similar to the night he had on the clock. Even so, Kelly has to hold on tight because he is there to save her. At that moment, the girl grabs him, and the protagonist is surprised that she is still awake. Then the system warns that Kelly's blood has started to activate, and she will be able to successfully mutate all her abilities. Soon after, the girl goes on the attack. While she is on top of Liu Feng, he asks if she thinks that can defeat him. Throwing her onto the bed, the boy suddenly starts hallucinating again, asking if she thinks the word brave is so good. As long as there is faith in his heart, he will never be burned, and invoking his big sword, he goes on the attack. Kelly, surprised, asks what kind of power this is because she can't handle it. Then Liu Feng starts delivering a bunch of strikes. The next day, the MC had already had a lot of fun, and the system says that the mutation is complete, and Kelly has a new ability that can be seen on the character data sheet. The boy was happy because in the end, everything had worked out, claiming that it is a beautiful day. When he looks to the side, he finds another Kelly. There are literally two of the same girls, and Liu Feng wonders if he is in some kind of dream. So if he is just dreaming, he doesn't need to be so chivalrous. However, suddenly someone calls the boy, saying that since he is awake, they should have breakfast. To make matters worse, there is another Kelly. Changing the subject, she says that thanks to him, she has awakened new abilities, and then made a special breakfast to comfort him. Meanwhile, Liu Feng thinks that she doesn't know about what happened last night, and while eating the bread, he thanks her for the food. Soon after, the girl says that after making breakfast, she understood a bit about her abilities. Taking advantage of the explanation, Liu Feng asks if these two are doppelgangers. However, Kelly replies that no, because this is just a form she just used her ability on. Then, out of nowhere, the two clones start to dissolve. The girl says that the clones were made by her using the metal from her house. Her current ability can change the form of any object. Still, the metal is much easier to control compared to others. Hearing this, Liu Feng gets the reference, thinking that she is almost a Magneto. However, Kelly says that her ability is still not very offensive and she can only slightly transform physical forms and can barely move things, but she can change their shape and attach herself to them. Hearing this, Liu Feng then wants to know why the clones moved. The girl says she did some research that morning because she can separate her consciousness to control her actions. And the larger the object, the more necessary it is to separate her consciousness. If she abuses this, she might end up going crazy, and currently, the limit is to control the movement of two avatars for a short period of time. At this, Liu Feng gets excited thinking about some possibilities. Soon after, Kelly throws a cube at the MC's piece, saying that she also thought about the real use of this skill, because she also has the ability to help him since the compatibility is 100%. Hearing this, Liu Feng doesn't believe it, and then the system appears, saying that the upgrade of the level 3 shelter is complete and construction is about to begin. The base will start being updated in 10 minutes, and at that moment, the whole place begins to shine. The system announces that the construction of the tertiary shelter has been completed. Everyone is surprised because the place is quite huge. However, Lin Xin says that the base is the same as every day. The mission she had completed was already finished, and the base was updated again. Looking up, the girl sees Liu Feng but also wants to know why Kelly is with him. Just by seeing the way Kelly was looking, it was clear that she was probably mocking her. The most irritating thing is that she had been with Liu Feng a day ago, and yet she had been replaced by another woman. Meanwhile, everyone was still surprised by the change in the base. The friends from before also say that it's a miracle because they had never seen such a high-level automation. The system announces that level 3 of the base has been completed, showing all the changes to the boy. He says that now that the first floor is full, they can only build on the second floor, asking the system to consume points to build mining machines. After building everything, Liu Feng says that everything is set and will go to the Zhangbei camp tomorrow to contact the army. A little later, Liu Feng was in his room drinking with his sister and that girl Xing Xing. She asks if Liu Feng is not ashamed to say that he doesn't care about Xin Tong when he is busy every day. And the protagonist just apologizes, thinking that it's all his fault because now Xin Tong sleeps 18 hours a day, as Qin had said that this is a way to delay the mutation. Looking at his other sister, he also notices that she has grown quite a bit. At this, Xing Xing notices a look, and Liu Feng freezes immediately. However, she says that if it's Liu Feng, it's not a problem, because they promised when they were younger that they would marry. Hearing this, he doesn't believe it because Xing Xing believed that joke, only making the poor girl even more irritated, saying that back then she made a promise and cannot go back on it. Suddenly, the girl trips and, coincidentally, falls on Liu Feng. Saying that she hates him, she asks him not to move a muscle. The two start to argue, and Xin Tong just watches quietly. An hour later, all that chaos ended, and everyone was calmly watching a movie. Soon after, Liu Feng says that life is not easy for them, but Xin Tong says she would marry him when she grows up. Liu Feng asks what she is talking about but thanks her for trying to help him. And even if Xing Xing loses her memory, she will still be a kind and caring person. Suddenly, a flashback from 10 years ago appears with someone asking Liu Feng not to get nervous because from today on, that is the family that adopted him. The other girl there also asks Xin Tong not to get nervous because that boy will be her brother from then on. The MC just observes, and the girl later calls him Big Brother. Returning to the present, a day later, Liu Feng opens his eyes and finds his two sisters in his lap. The two don't have to worry because he will definitely protect them. But then suddenly, the little robot appears, saying that Liu Feng is fully charged. Looking at the situation, he sees a boy with two children in his lap, and he already thinks of something wrong, saying that if that's the case, he will activate his other mode, and suddenly, his face changes again, asking the boy to stop with those sinful thoughts. The MC tries to come up with an excuse, saying that this has nothing to do with it, and then the two wake up. Seeing that scene, they think he is crazy, but Liu Feng says it is a misunderstanding. The robot, however, says that is not what it just said a moment ago, but there is no need to be afraid because he still has it, and the poor guy in the meantime was almost losing it. The next scene jumps to a few hours later, and Liu Feng was finally gathered with the troops to head to the city of Shengbei. On the other side of the city, a man in a suit orders everyone to get out of the way because the Qian County magistrate was injured and waiting for treatment in the car, asking if they could bear the consequences if something happened to this man. Soon after, the man shows up asking why they still haven't resolved this mess, ordering them to let him in quickly because he is a friend of the mayor. He says he is very hungry and suddenly goes after the human with blue hair. Without wasting time, the soldiers shoot at him, asking to alert the other soldiers now. The other refugees were frozen in fear at what they had seen, and soon after, Liu Feng appears saying they have to do all of this. While one soldier is shooting a zombie, Liu Feng appears from behind defeating it. At this point, the soldiers already recognize the MC, saying he is the so-called punching demon. The kid doesn't understand anything about this nickname. And then he says he is looking for squad leader Chu. The soldier says he has been promoted and is now the leader of the platoon, and they just need to wait a bit for him to be notified. Next, the other man says that now the survivor city has made a list of mutants. It is ranked among the top 100 strongest and does not depend on level, but only on ability, and Liu Feng is currently in 97th place thanks to his excellent performance in missions. Surprised, Liu Feng asks if he can really enter the list because he just completed his first assigned mission, but the guy says that this task was adjusted to level S. Last time, the Institute studied the bodies he brought, and if they happened to escape, a disaster could occur. But fortunately, our boy resolved it. After that, Liu Feng understood everything, thinking it is no surprise that the leader of the fusion beast is so powerful. Suddenly, someone calls Liu Feng, and it is Chu, who is now the platoon leader, saying that it has been a long time since he last saw him. He greets him, thanking him for the last mission because he saved his life. Changing the subject, he says he will take him out for dinner while they walk, but Liu Feng says he has a lot of food he wants to put in the northern city market. Since he is afraid it may not be safe, he wants to make this exchange with the military, and Chu responds that this is quite interesting. Even so, they have to hurry because after dinner, he will introduce him to his superior, who is the commander of Company Go. On the other side of the city, in some residential area, there was a big bearded guy who was literally with the MC's ex-girlfriend. He says they should hurry because he bought 2 cans of food for her, but her face was still a bit irritated. Even so, they have to stop with that since they are going to have a lot of fun that night. But then out of nowhere, the girl licks the man's face. Only now did the poor guy realize she was a mutant, but it is too late because he has passed on. A little later at the northern city base, everyone was looking at the beauty of Lin Xin and Kelly. Shu, looking at the girls, wonders if they are Liu Feng's teammates because they are really quite beautiful. Soon after, someone taps Lin Xin on the shoulder saying they should take a walk. Shu tries to intervene, but Liu Feng says there is no need to do that. Then Kelly grabs the guy's hand and throws him away. The girl shows no mercy, telling him not to bother her because she is in a bad mood now. The guy runs away with his tail between his legs, and Liu Feng just watches. Meanwhile, there was a guy selling the remaining items of a mutant that had been killed. A lot of people go there to grab and buy, and Liu Feng is surprised because his photo is literally printed on the papers. Shu says he has become famous now, and few people in his city made it onto the list, and he was ranked 97th as soon as he arrived. The first rank S of the army is named Li, and he is in 38th place in the country and has completed a lot of tasks alone. Changing the subject, he says they should have fun soon. A few minutes later, they were at the bar drinking a bit. Lin Xin from a distance wants to know what those 2 idiots were talking about. Kelly says that a lot of information can only be revealed at the dinner table, and that is the rule of this country. Lin Xin asks how she is so sure of all this, and the girl just asks not to underestimate the MC. On the other side of the table, the boy was saying that if Shu needed anything, he could let him know, and then the guy mentions that he actually has a few things he would like. Soon, the military will have a mission to search for items in the city center, and he wanted to hire him to escort them, which is something quite easy to do. Lin Xin can't believe what she heard, and then Kelly says that everything Liu Feng did before was to establish a relationship with the military, and what he was doing is basically an investment. Our hero says he will help him, and Shu thanks him, saying that the deadline is 3 days from now, and he can also send someone to the commercial capital. The boy says he will put Kelly in charge of the transaction and will prepare for these 3 days. Suddenly, someone calls out to the MC, and it's those 3 friends from before, and you can already tell that the night is going to be very long.